Hello. Hello, everybody. Today is July 9th, 12,026. I am Luxander Moss. This is the Transatlantic Call-In Show where you can call in and debate trans topics. I'm here with Josie Caballero. How you doing, Josie?
I am doing as well as I can. I know a lot of you are thinking, "Oh, did I win? Did I win?" I got fucking close. I mean, we're talking about 1.23% away from winning this election. And I call it a rainy day margin because it was downpour rain the election day. It didn't let up until like 5 p.m. So there was like a few hours left, but it was historically low voter turnout over like the last 10 years. It's like the lowest it's ever been. And again, here we are, progressives losing because people don't come out and vote. And it's just like, so 1.2% is incredibly close. The person behind me was like 5% behind me, but in 17-person race, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I got like 15,000 more votes than the person behind me. So it wasn't even close between me and the person behind me. But yeah, it's a heartbreaker. It was a heartbreaker. I put a lot of time into it over a year. I know a lot of the folks in this a lot of the folks in chat and the Line Network donated money and their treasure and their hopes and their dreams. Some of you actually came out and walked. Some of you actually came out and phone banked. It was so cool to have walkers come to the events and be like, "I saw you on the line. That's why I'm here." I'm like, "Wow, it's so
Yeah.
cool." So it was a beautiful thing. I mean, this was probably one of I would say the closest campaign that I've ever had, like as far as even in my professional career, is like
Mhm.
as far as loss, so heartbreaker for sure. But we ran a hell of a race, and now everybody's telling me you got to run again, you got to run again. And I probably am. I'm gonna do it. It's frustrating, but now I can probably raise double the money, probably get more endorsements. I mean, when you look at my like this was all the endorsements that I got in this election, and then you
Mm.
have some people on this side, but I nearly won. Like this is crazy how
Yeah.
many endorsements we got, and for it to be that close is just the biggest heartbreaker. But the person that did beat me, the fourth place person, um, she got United Healthcare money. She got BlackRock money, developers, realtors. She had about $600,000 in money, while I only had
Wow.
$175,000 in money.
You made that money
Her
work, really.
Oh yeah, yeah. My cost per vote was only like $4 and like 30 something, 40 something cents. Her cost per vote was nearly over $12,
Hmm.
or roughly $12. And so we were a campaign, and this is a crazy part. With 17 people running, I still got 42,000 votes. That's enough to win a congressional primary. And so it is probably one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with of being this close because I can't
Hmm.
be mad, right? It's like shooting an arrow from like thousands and thousands of meters away, and then a gust of wind at the last minute just moves it right off the mark. Just
Yeah.
that's how close it was. If it was sunny, would we have won? If we would have gotten another endorsement, would we have won? If they didn't do a whisper campaign calling me anti-Semitic, would I have won? I don't know. I was the most attacked candidate out of 17 candidates, and I still came in with that close margin. So
Yeah.
it just shows that we were an unstoppable force, and they tried everything they could to try to stop me. But guess what? I'm only going to get that much stronger. Like next time I run, wrap it up. We got it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's
It's
heartbreaking.
it's so wild that something like the weather can impact an election that strongly. It's like, I go to the gym on a regular basis, and there's definitely fewer cars in the parking lot on rainy days, which I've just noticed that and been like, oh, that's kind of weird. I'm like sticking to my schedule regardless of the weather, but there's like people don't want to go out as much. Um, and so it's like, and it's so weird too because we have all mail-in voting, which means that I don't miss primary elections because the thing just comes to my house. So it is interesting how this is, I think of the heat as a problem because people stand in line and people are making it illegal to hand out water to folks waiting in line to vote. But I hadn't considered the rain and how, yeah, the weather makes in-person voting even more undemocratic.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. If you don't have a
Yeah.
car to drive there, you might not want to stand outside and wait for the bus, or you might not want to
Yep.
walk. So yeah, there's so many other things.
And that's about 1.2% of the vote right there, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
it's
wild.
like, have three elections back to back to back, and then every election will have a different result. Like,
Hmm.
that's why it's like any given election, like any given Sunday, right? Doesn't matter how trained or how great your team is, you have a possibility of losing on game day. And
Hmm.
that's essentially what ended up happening. But like if people showed up on election, we beat the people that we needed to beat on election day. It's just that there wasn't enough people to come out and vote
Yeah,
to help us beat that margin, which I mean, it's so wild. Like 42,000 votes, right?
yeah.
Like it's
Listen,
like
this is a lesson to everybody in the chat, okay? Because if you have a trans person or a leftist or somebody running in your area for a local office, it's really important that you vote and that you encourage other people to vote and try to vote early if you can.
yeah,
I would recommend like the week before if you and a car full
yeah,
of people go vote early. That's what
yeah,
I preferred to do because I liked to vote in person when that was an option
yeah,
for me in Kansas, but I would go early because I was not trying to deal with all the crowds. So that's an option, everybody. If you have a day off prior to the election, which I imagine most of you have at least one day off prior to the election
yeah,
in the like month or whatever, a couple weeks that they have early voting, get out there and early vote, even if you don't volunteer for candidates, which lots of you did. And that's hard work and it's appreciated. But yeah, we just
yeah.
got to show up at the very
You
minimum.
just gotta
Obviously,
show
you
up.
have to do more than just that, but that's the bare minimum. Show up to vote, please.
I
Jeez.
know. I know. It like the entire state of Maryland, like all of these Democratic Socialist elections are winning all over the country, like
It's been
next door
beautiful
in
to see. Yeah.
DC, New Jersey, New York, and we could have had another one right here in Maryland, Montgomery County with me winning this race with 1.23% of the vote. And we are that close to having change in Maryland. I would have represented 1.1 million people in one of
Yeah.
the richest counties in the entire country. Like that is game shifting because I want to do a wealth tax. I actually
Mhm.
want to tax the wealthy. I want to actually build public housing. I want to arrest ICE. I want to do all of these things that we need to do, fully fund our education systems. Like that's why people came out and voted for me. Like we nearly won. Like it's just like now we have to wait 4 years, but it's okay. I'm not going anywhere. Still doing the thing. I'm not giving up. It's not
Yeah.
in me.
Never give up. Never surrender.
Never, never. Yeah, yeah. And all those that did vote for me in chat, I did see somebody saying that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's very, yeah, it's 42,000 votes. It's just crazy. Ugh, makes me sick. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, today, listen, we needed to shoot the shit. It's been, it was a necessary catch up because, your
Yeah.
election was such a big deal for such a long time. But yeah, so a couple things at the beginning of the show here. Don't forget to like the stream. That boosts us in the algorithm. I believe that today we are set up with horizontal and vertical. So if you're on the vertical on your phone there, just double tap the screen and it will like the video. Click share and then copy the link. Even if you don't paste it somewhere, YouTube still likes it when you do that. And we'll have some polls for you in the chat as we get into our show. But this is a call-in show, so make sure to get your calls in. The number's on the screen, 720-619-2288. And we mostly want to do debate topics around trans people. So we've got a few options there scrolling. Where is it in relation to my fingers? Where is it? It's over
Other
there
way.
in the
Other
middle.
way.
In the
There it
middle.
goes.
Okay, I don't know
Yeah.
why I was struggling with that so much. It's like when you're first learning how to back up in a car and you're
Yeah.
like, this doesn't make sense. And then you try
Yeah.
to learn how to drive with a trailer and then you're like, no, we're back to the original thing now. Anyway, if you want to debate the topic, are trans women women? Should youth have access to gender affirming care? If you think there's no such thing as a trans child, we had the sports conversation come up again recently. So we've got open lines. If you are calling because you want advice or something along those lines, we are limiting those lines. I think we're only taking like 2 spots because we really want to prioritize those debates and those questions and those kind of contentious topics. So yeah, that's kind of it for the starting announcements for the show. We want to talk about our poll from last week, which I don't remember what it is. So when Arden has a second to pull that up, we talked about, oh yeah, we talked about the basically the sports ruling at the SCOTUS level, limiting Title IX to just meaning biological sex when like they're talking about the sex category. And we were asking the question, is this a step on the way to basically erasing legal acknowledgement of trans people and therefore legal protection of trans people? Like if there is no such thing as trans people as a category, does that functionally mean that there's no such thing as a hate crime against a trans person because there's no such thing as a trans person? So what do you think about that, Josie? I'm really curious, actually.
Um, I do think that I don't think it will eliminate um trans people. I mean, it could try to lead to legal erasure of trans people, but I do think that overall it's going to hurt all people.
Oh yeah, of course.
And so for me it's like this is just another step that is going to try to limit us from being able to participate in public life, and it's all part of the plan in my opinion, in my opinion, of the idea that they want us to keep talking about trans issues because they are limiting our rights, and the more you limit our rights we have to talk about it, right? It's like
Mhm.
it has to be done. So I think it is trying to, kick the hornet's nest more to try to make it look like, oh, this is all the Democrats want to talk about.
Mm.
But it's not about that. It's about human rights. And the thing is like I think it's all part of the plan to keep trans conversation in the zeitgeist of politics, so
Mm.
that way they can continue to make us more of a boogeyman and make it more mainstream. Yeah, it's again, it's sinister.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it doesn't lead to, like the sort of ultimate end result that I'm imagining, it still is not good for people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think any erosion of sex-based rights, I think is inevitably going to hurt. I mean, like primarily cis women, besides us, like that's like the other group that it's going to start hitting. Um, because then it'll be like, well, you weren't discriminated against because of your biological sex, or you were discriminated against because of this thing that's associated with women. It has nothing to do with your biological capability. Like I can just see that being twisted in so many different ways. Um, yeah, it's never a good thing when rights are being limited, and it benefits, like with the curb cut effect. It benefits more people than you imagine when you expand legal protections and access and things like that. So, not entirely surprised by the 86-14 split here. Thank you all for voting on that poll and for your comments there on the post. We do have a poll for this week that we're not going to get into too deep right now, but we will have a version of this, I think, in the chat for you to vote on. Do Democrats need to embrace trans rights to win? And I'll leave that open-ended question for you guys. You can leave your comments over there, or if you want to leave them on the posts tab on our YouTube channel, that is also an option. Oh, and one last thing. If you want to have your chat messages read out at the end, $5 or more on the super chats, and we will read those as well as getting in your hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Josie votes. So with that, do we have a caller? We have one singular caller. Listen,
We
y'all,
do.
the number is 720-619-2288. Like the video, share it out because the show thrives, the channel thrives, and therefore trans people thrive when you interact with the video and the line does well. Because listen, this is my primary job. So you are directly supporting trans people with money by clicking on your screen. Isn't it weird how that works? You just have to touch your screen and we get money for it. Amazing.
It's pretty
So
great.
yeah, every
And
interaction is appreciated.
speaking of money, I am going to go ahead and make the pitch as well. I still need your help and donations to help me close out the campaign. So I just
Mhm.
put the link. It's the Zerba link at the Act Blue thing. Please donate. It really does help me close out the campaign strong. We got volunteer appreciation. I would like to send a thank you to everybody who donated as well in a personal like message. And I also need to pay, do the final bills for the staff that are helping me close out the campaign. Campaigns cost money. So if you could please help me close out the campaign strong, it just shows that we are going to be ready for next cycle in 4 years. So please donate. It'll help me tremendously so I can close out the account.
Yes, absolutely. And I see somebody in the chat, Christopher, who is making the argument that Democrats embrace trans ideology and that was what caused them to lose in the first place. Call in. That's
Yeah,
exactly the
please.
kind of conversation that we want to have today. So if you have any contention, if you think we're wrong about anything, I only interact with the chat insofar as I'm going to call you out and ask you to get to grow a pair and call us. You know what I mean? But yeah, so if you get
Yeah.
muted in the chat, it's because we don't really want you debating in the chat. If you have a debate topic, we want you to call in
And
720-619-2288.
and remember too, I'm an actual political expert,
Mhm.
and I understand politics very in a very nuanced and specific way, when it comes to national, local, and state politics. So if you really do have those political questions or want to have that conversation, I am completely open to have that conversation and explain to you how that is not the correct way to approach it. But would happy to have a conversation. Prove me wrong.
Yeah. Well, while we wait for some lines to populate, and we're going to be taking calls for probably about 2 hours from now. Like, yeah, let's just say 2 hours, and then we'll have a little bit of time at the end for our super chats. So yeah, make sure you get in. If you're not inside the US, we do have the web caller link as well. Sometimes we get some folks from the UK who are interested in this time slot and who believe things that people from Turf Island believe. So if you're one of those, if you consider yourself gender critical, any of those kind of things, feel free to call in. We'd love to talk to you. If you're respectful, we will be respectful. So let's go
I know.
ahead for the time being. We're going to take Aiden, who uses he, him pronouns and is calling from Oregon. Aiden, you are live with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good.
Ah, hello.
Um, yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
So your topic was exploring gender identity. So go ahead and launch into it for us. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I've called a couple times before. I actually called you guys like a month ago. Um, I don't expect you to remember me. I mean, I wouldn't remember me, but that's stupid. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Um, okay, yeah, so I was experimenting with my presentation, and I recently um, I went to Pride and I actually wore a skirt and tights out in public for the first time. Um, and what was and so I know like and also like I got a ton of compliments from gay people. So like I know that's like the highest compliment you can get like at Pride. Like that means I had a really good outfit, I think. But like I felt like a weird like absence of like I have a lot of trans people in my life, and a lot of them describe this kind of like, euphoric feeling when they put on like clothes that kind of like affirm their gender. And, for me, it just felt like nothing. And I've experienced it a couple other times when when I put on, clothes. Sorry, I'm like stuttering a little. I'm like kind of like tripping over my words a little bit. Um, and, I don't know, it's just confusing because I still feel like every time I take them off and I'm like, okay, this doesn't feel the same as when I'm wearing, like more masculine clothes. I feel like I need to I still feel this urge to like go back and try them on again. And I just I'm with the cycle where I just like, oh, I feel nothing. It's really confusing. So I didn't know if either of you had any insight on that.
I mean,
Hello?
it's
Oh.
one of the recommendations that I make for how to hone in on what makes you happy gender wise. And if it turns out that dressing differently than normal is not like making a connection for you, then that's fine. There are other things to try, and also like there are, plenty of gender nonconforming trans people. And so it might be that like you still have like some kind of trans identity, but you just still prefer to wear the clothes that you've been used to wearing. So I would not say to like put too huge of an amount of importance on like, well, it turns out that exploring this particular avenue didn't have any strong and conclusive results. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just like I like I don't know if this makes sense, but like I want it to feel right, you know? Because I keep going back to it. And this isn't the first time in my life that I've tried this. I've tried as like I mean I remember like, you know, I can remember quite a few times, like both when I was a little, you know, when I was a little kid, and when I was a teenager, and when I was young, you know, when I became a young adult. I kept trying on these clothes, and I keep coming back to it. So it's like, if it's just not me, I don't know why. Maybe it's worth also mentioning that I have OCD, and so I tend to get like fixated on things.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like I keep coming back to it, and I feel like if it just didn't feel right, then like why do I still feel this absence? You know, when
I would say like sometimes I've heard that some trans girls are really uncomfortable with dressing in feminine clothes until they start hormones and the clothes start to fit like in a way that makes more sense for them. So that I'm just floating that as like I've heard people say that before, so that could be something that's relevant to your situation. But I definitely think
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have some audio processing issues. It's sometimes hard for me to like make out words over the phone. Would you mind repeating that for me?
Sometimes trans girls, when they first are transitioning and they try to wear a dress or something that is cut for an hourglass figure, they feel weird and they don't like the clothes. But then once they start hormones and they start to develop curves, then the clothes fit better and it starts to feel like right instead of feeling weird like it did before. So I'm just floating that as something that I've heard people say before. It may or may not be relevant to you. But if you're feeling like you're obsessing over it a little bit, then I definitely think it's worth it to discuss with a therapist if you don't have one already, just to make sure that you aren't accidentally stuck in an OCD loop.
Oh yeah, and I'm working on that. I'm finding a therapist right now that specializes in queer issues and OCD. It's a process. And then also, so I do think I'm probably gender fluid, and not necessarily a binary trans woman. So maybe that also it's trying to sum up everything I've been thinking about for the last few months in like in less than a minute. And it's really hard. But I have a lot of trans people in my life that I talk to. I come from a really loving, accepting family that has already, you know, I've already had family members that have gone through a transition. So it's not like you know, I could talk about this with other people. It's not super new. My mom, my brother have been helping me a lot. In fact, when I went to Goodwill and I tried on the skirt that I ended up getting and a pair of women's jeans, like the first ones that I grabbed, apparently they like fit me perfectly, and my mom and my brother were freaking out because they're like, that never happens with women's clothes. And so, you know, no, but they're great, and you know, I've done a lot of self-directed research on this. Where was I going with this? Yeah, it's just confusing because like I feel like I should feel something. You know?
I mean, I think the shoulding on yourself is the problem. You're shoulding all over the place here.
Yeah, probably.
And
I am shoulding.
Yeah. And I, you know, the more you can like just let yourself have an experience and like the less judgment and like feeling like you're not doing it right, you know, there's no right way to be trans or to explore your gender, or there's no right conclusion to come to or anything. So I think that would be, you know, the element that I would work on if I was finding myself stuck in that thought pattern, is like, I'm placing a lot of expectations on myself that,
yeah,
you know, that's like a self-imposed thing. Or like maybe, yeah, like I used to try really hard to look more masculine than I do now because I felt like because I'm AFAB that was necessary in order for me to be valid as a trans person. And now I just don't care anymore. So that was a process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
that, like
and
feeling
I,
like
and
you
I,
should have short hair or should wear pink or whatever, you know?
yeah. Shit, there's some funny people in the chat. Um, yeah, no, and it's like I also, I'm kind of like trying to paraphrase sort of what's going on in my head. Like I'm aware of all the complexities of this. I've never even my whole life I've never really felt like this need to like conform to other people's standards. Probably because I was also an autistic kid who got bullied his whole life. So kind of developed a pretty strong sense of self pretty early on. But it's just, yeah, I mean, it's just like I'm trying just to navigate the complexities of it. And like another issue that I've been having is, so I've been like, with my trans like family and friends, I've been the like supportive, like I have one family member where like I was the first person they came out to, and I supported them throughout their whole transition. And I'm used to playing that role, and I'm used to kind of like helping with what am I trying to say? But like now that it's me, I it feels so much. It's like I can't apply my own like in my or my the things that I would say to them that help them like get through some of their like really like kind of like strong feelings and confusion. Like I can't apply that to myself right now.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with a lot of internalized transphobia, like and it intersects with my OCD because like now I'm worrying like, oh, what if I transition and I feel like decoupled from my humanity because I'm not normal anymore, or like not by like it's that like language that transphobes use a lot that I'm now kind of hearing in my head, like, oh, I'm not biological anymore, I'm some kind of altered human, and that's been really stressing me out as well.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Ash Hardell?
No, I'm gonna write that down though. How do you spell that?
Ash is their first name, as in like ashes from fire, and then
All right.
Hardell.
H-E-R H-E-R-D.
Sorry,
Okay. Yeah.
Hardell. Hardell.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the reason why I
Hardell.
mention
Got it.
them is because they kind of quit doing YouTube because of similar types of pressures. So I just didn't know if maybe your story might resonate with their story of like all like internalizing so much of the messaging. For in their particular case, it was they were being accused of having something called Peter Pan syndrome. Um, and like
Oh.
other weird shit. But they made a couple of videos about like the process of trying to get over all of that and like the how it had impacted them and how they were trying to get out of it, and then like how they're coming to have a more healthy relationship with the internet and like choosing not to disclose as much stuff basically. Um, but yeah, I think that might be all the time that we have right now, Aiden, but I appreciate you calling. And I
Oh,
really hope that you
okay.
get into therapy soon. And
Oh,
honestly, if you don't have trans friends, you should make some, or like just friends in general, because it really does sound
oh,
like maybe part of what
oh,
you're dealing with
I
is
have them
like
in
some
spades.
loneliness.
No, I have them in spades. I'm good.
Okay, you're good on that. Okay, just make sure you're
But
reaching out to your friends a lot and relying on them and like asking them about their experiences
absolutely.
too.
Yep.
All right. Do I have time for one little silly comment as well?
A silly comment
Do
I
you have
will
time for like a
accept.
20-second silly? Thank
Yeah,
you.
go for it.
I want to say, Josie, I'm really sorry you didn't win the election, and I think it's my fault because when I was phone banking for you, I was trying to like convince people, like, or I was trying to like inform them about your policies. And I think what I should have done is I should have like threatened them with violence. I think that would have been much more effective.
Yeah.
So I'll do that next time.
Sounds good. Thank
Or at
you.
least
Thank you,
berate
Aiden.
them.
And
Yeah,
we'll
thank you so
chat
much.
soon. All right. All right.
Thanks, Aiden.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Bye.
Okie
Um,
dokie.
is there something wrong with the web
Oh,
caller?
oh,
I
you know
think
what? I see what happened here. I see what's happening here.
it seems like
Okay,
they're
everybody who's been trying to call in, try in again. For some reason, the number of lines was limited to only one.
Oh,
I
that's what's
fixed it.
happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because people were saying that they were trying to call in, but it was
And they were
hanging
getting a
up.
busy signal. I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah, so we do have callers coming in.
There's a lot
Again,
now.
we're prioritizing debate calls. We want to have debates. Let's talk about your trans derangement syndrome. Let's talk about whether there is such a thing as a trans kid. Let's talk about whether Democrats have lost elections because of their support of trans people. There's a topic scrolling down here as well. Trans women are women. Do you want to debate us on whether trans women are women? Let's fucking do some
Let's
ontology
go.
today.
Yeah. Let's
Um,
go.
yeah, so it's
Oh
going
my
to take a
gosh.
second for Arden to screen as we've just gotten like all of the lines just filled up immediately.
They
So
did. That
give
was
us a
so
second.
wild how fast
Thank
that
you so
happened.
much, everybody.
Yeah,
um,
that is bonkers.
and we are sorry that that there was a little technical snafu, but it's not a big
Yeah.
deal. We're moving forward, and we're gonna have some good calls. In the meantime, what's something we can shoot the shit about in the meantime
Oh
to
my gosh.
maybe anger people, get people riled up.
Oh, get them angry?
Yeah, get them
Oh
to call
man.
in. We got to rile the people
Oh
up.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, I think that this trans panic is going to cause Republicans to lose more races than they think they can.
Mm,
They are ready to. I mean, like it's just happening. Like, you bring up trans people in a negative way, you are going to lose your races. Like, I'm gonna say that, like, straight up. And if you
yeah.
think that, I mean, it's just because it's like believe in human rights. Like the MAGA coalition is collapsing on itself,
Mhm.
and now it's like they don't have any ability to actually govern except for yell about trans people or yell about immigrants or yell about whatever thing sets off their lizard brains,
Mhm.
and I think that it's going to backfire spectacularly. And just let you know, there is a storm rolling in. So if my power goes out, that's why.
Okay.
Um, yeah. But yeah. And also, I will say that trans women are also really, really bad at sports. Like really bad at sports. Like statistically awful at sports.
That's true. You have a disadvantage compared to like every other group.
If you are a cis woman worried about trans women in sports, you should be hoping that there's a trans woman on the other team because the likelihood of you winning is much higher.
Yeah. And the
Uh,
likelihood of you getting to throw a fit and get a pity trophy at the end of the process, even if you do lose, so you still get a trophy at the end, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it is absolutely true. Um, Yeah, so that's how I feel about those type of things.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's see. Other things that will rile people up.
I'm trying to get Arden to bring up the poll because I realize this is the perfect time for
Oh,
us to
this is
just
a
talk
perfect
about the
time. Let's
poll.
let's talk about the
Yeah.
poll, but she's busy
Yeah.
screening.
She's busy. There she
Okay.
is. Okay, there we go.
Okay, great,
So,
great, great,
so
great.
we wanted to ask you, do Democrats need to embrace trans rights in order to win? And there's a specific article that I was reading, and that's the reason why I brought this up, but I'll let you share your thoughts on it, Josie.
Oh, well, I mean, the article is about Markley actually talking directly to Seth Moulton, who is
Mhm.
losing pretty badly in the polls right now, who's running for Senate, that he is throwing trans kids under the bus.
And this was like a
And
primary debate.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
primary debate, and what's interesting about it is that even though Markley is ancient and should have passed the torch to somebody like Ayanna Pressley, the reality is he understands that the youth understand the need for this,
Hmm.
and is not willing to sacrifice his values
Good.
to
Fucking one of
to
them.
yeah, exactly. So yeah. Um, so I think that it's important to embrace it because if you don't, you're going to lose. You're going to lose.
Yeah. I think Democrats need to stop like forgetting that they actually need to appeal to the voters in order to win. Like I understand that they need to court their corporate donors. I understand that that is an element of it. But that is like it's become their only priority. And unfortunately, not only do you lose out on grassroots donations, but you lose out on the actual winning the election part, which like sometimes I think it's debatable whether they even do want to, especially the ones with the most corporate interests. It's like, are you actually like gaining more by losing?
It's wild because I've had so many donor calls, right? I raised like
Mm,
$175,000, and I've had donors tell me that Democrats talk about trans people too much. But I would ignore that comment and continue to have the conversation and have a good conversation. And then at the end of the conversation, be like, oh, by the way, I want to revisit that whole Democrats talk about trans people too much. I'm a trans person. And yet, everything that we talked about didn't involve trans issues. It's the Republicans that bring up trans issues, and
sure.
we're just responding to their bullshit. And
Hmm.
when I was able to frame it that way, I still was able to get the donation. So it's like these politicians who are on calls with donors are cowards if they're just like taking the premise of what that donor says. You got to push back even on the donor call. Like and so it's just cowardly. I mean, I know how some of these politicians make these calls. I never bend on my values. That's why I hated talking to ultra wealthy people. In fact, I
Hmm.
would take them off my list because I'm like, this person gives too much money. I cannot have a good conversation with these folks.
Mm.
And it's true because when you have a house bigger than your heart, you are less likely to give to a grassroots candidate that wants to make the working class better.
Mm.
And what I mean by when you have a house bigger than your heart, I mean the ultra huge multi-million dollar mansions that are way too big that you can't even go into in every room every day. Like it is just so broken. And so yeah, but anyways, that's how I feel. I'm very animate on standing true to your values because those are the ways that you win. Because when you start backing off your values, that shows weakness and it shows that you would not be a good representative. Because the corporate interests, they're going to stay true to their values. They're
Yeah.
crappy, awful values, but they stand true on them. And
Yeah, they're consistent in how fucking awful they are, but at least they're
yeah,
consistent. That's like,
yeah,
yeah, because they can be honest. Like that's like the Republicans can be honest that they're cool with corporations, that they want to increase corporations' participation in the democratic process, and like they're just openly like, yeah, we want to cut taxes. So it's like, yeah, obviously. So at least they're consistent in that way. They can be openly evil. Like Democrats can't be openly evil. They have to be
yeah,
covertly
that's
evil.
pretty. No, God, and they're also and the Democrats. When we find out they're evil, we kick them out, like Graham Plattner, that
Yeah,
freaking
yeah, yeah.
monster, fucking rapist. Like
Yeah,
he's a bad human being, and
yeah,
I'm glad that he's getting grinded up by everybody who says you're a bad dude, you're a
yeah.
bad guy,
I
you are
like
a
some of the rhetoric, but it's like, damn, you cannot run for office if you
the
have that in your
bar,
background. Like, you just
the
can't. You
bar.
should have known better. That's
Like you're
crazy.
a rapist. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, come on. It's like, yeah, it's like, ugh. So yeah, that's fun. But it looks like we do got a good call coming in here.
Which one are you looking at?
I am looking at the one that isn't an advice call.
Okay, of the two that are actually ready to
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right. Yeah. Sure. Why don't you bring him on?
Okay. Let me grab it.
Oh, wait, wait, wait. Arden. We have to get Arden to move the screen.
Do we? Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
We
yeah.
do. Yeah. As soon as Arden does that.
Multitasking is hard.
All
All right.
right.
There we go. There we go. Now we're ready to
Perfect.
take our first call or our next
So,
caller.
so we have Loki from Norway calling in on the line on Transatlantic Caller Show. You are live with Lux and Josie. Tell us about what you think about pronouns.
Hello, can you hear me first of all?
Hello. Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Yes. So this was a question about like why do we use pronouns instead of like the pronouns, why we use the gender based instead of the sex of the person. And the reason I ask this is because where the group I hang out with usually is like pretty. They don't support trans people and stuff like that. So we were talking about if someone is trans, you should use their preferred pronouns or the pronouns of their like sex, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And
I have a
yeah,
quick
and
question for you.
yes.
So in Norwegian, in your language, is there an equivalent to pronouns for English?
Could you clarify the question?
So in English, I understand what pronouns are in like how they're structured in English, right? So you have, I, you, he, him, she,
Oh yeah,
they, like
we have those. We
you
have
do.
those. Yeah.
Okay.
The
So
like the more problematic thing is to differentiate between gender and sex because we have the same word for those. It's called kön. So
so you have the
that's
same
like,
word. So you don't have, but you have pronouns though.
yeah, we have pronouns. But
Okay.
like if someone is talking about their sex or their gender, you have to like clarify even further because we don't have separate words for them.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes
Yes.
sense. Like okay, I get it. So because you
Mhm.
don't have a word for woman and female, you don't have two different words for that. It's only one word.
Yeah, I guess. I'm
Wait.
just talking like,
So in Norwegian, do you have a word for woman and do you have a word for female, or is that the same word?
as far as I know, we don't. I would just call both of them dame. But that's just me. I'm not like a expert in Norwegian.
So you do only have one word for female and woman.
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? Can you look it up for me really quick?
Okay. Actually,
Thank you, by the way, for looking it up.
yeah. I wonder what I should search for that. I guess we do have one version.
Okay.
We have like, but I don't think it's very common. Like you can say hushen, I think.
Okay. So
Yeah.
in English, before we used words woman and things, female and male were words that weren't like commonly used, right? Like you use them, but you would always generally use the gender term of man and woman as well. So it does take a second sometimes for words to advance. And so in the idea of the pronoun usage, because pronoun isn't gender, pronouns are just how you refer to yourself in relationship to what you perceive your own gender. Like it's not like it's
Mhm.
like it's part of your expression. Pronouns are part of your gender expression and not
Mhm.
necessarily like your actual gender. Your gender identity is something that you self-proclaim. So like I am a woman, which the woman is a gender term. And
Yeah.
even though, my sex assigned at birth is male, I am gendered a woman, so therefore I am a trans woman. And
Mhm.
that is how we use the language in English. But I have
Mhm.
a question for you because we are talking about language and words, and you do speak Norwegian. So if somebody were
Yeah.
to say, um, is your doc like, let's say somebody's talking about their doctor appointment, right? And they're just
Yeah.
like, and is there a gender neutral word to say my doctor, they were really good at my exam today, during my exam today, and without expressing the actual gender of the doctor, is there a word in Norwegian that is like when the gender is unknown when you're talking about a doctor or a judge or a person you haven't seen
Mm.
yet? Like
I
they.
Yeah. I think that usually I think the common like wording is just using, for example, if you say doctor, you just say lege, for example. So I think that it would usually be like referred as like the gender neutral one because I think that both men and women are called just lege.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So you do have gender neutral language already in your language. So the
Mhm.
reason I'm going down this road with you is because the idea of pronouns is just how you refer to a human being to be polite and
Mhm.
respectful. And it doesn't really matter what somebody's sex is. It's about how they want to be respected. So, for example,
Mhm.
are you what is your gender?
I'm he, him.
Okay. So, but if
Yes.
somebody were to say she, her to you, would you be like, why are you doing that?
I would
Would it be
find it a little
uncomfortable?
odd.
Yeah, you'd find it odd and uncomfortable, correct?
I'm not sure if I would call it uncomfortable, but I would find it a little weird.
Okay,
Uh,
sure.
yeah.
And so that weirdness that you're feeling is in direct relationship of how you express your own gender, because I assume you see yourself as a man, correct?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, great. So your he him is your expression of you saying to other people that I am a he, not a she, and
Hmm.
that is based on your gender identity and not your sex.
Yes, and like I support trans people, but it's that I couldn't like find a like a more like logical or scientific reason for to explain to the people around me, because they don't accept this. Like they don't think that you should call, like, if someone is a trans man, for example, you should call them by their biological sex, like she, her, because like their sex is female. Like,
But we again, but
yes.
that's just somebody's opinion. The idea of social construction is real. Just because somebody wants to be
Mhm.
disrespectful doesn't make it right. So if somebody wants to be like, no, trans women are he hims, for example, then they are just going against the social understanding that trans women are women and should be respected as such. And so like words are descriptors, they're not prescriptive. So regardless of some how somebody wants to use, like, there's no medical pronoun, right? There's no such thing as like, oh, she hers are only endowed to people with vulvas and he hims are only endowed to people with penises. That's just not how it works. And
Mhm.
in social interactions, you're not tapping people's genitals to make sure that you're using she her properly or he him properly or they them properly.
Mhm.
That's a very silly way of looking at it. And to say otherwise, right, if they're just assuming people's gender and just that's their own perception and they're just completely disregarding the feelings and understanding of the people that they're talking about.
Yeah, but if we just say that that's their opinion, wouldn't it just be opinion versus opinion? Because we would
Well,
say that it's what.
it wouldn't be opinion versus opinion. They're just an asshole. People have the right to be an asshole. They can be jerks all they want. Like, we can't change society and make people that aren't assholes no longer exist. Like, they can be jerks. They can be complete, scum in a lot of ways and just treat people with disrespect and things like that. But,
Mhm.
there are two classes of people. It's like, do they want to be assholes or do they want to be respectful in society? And so, like, the idea of pronouns, for example, is just how you respect somebody. Just like if how do you pronounce your name, by the way?
In Norwegian, it's Loke, but you can just say
Luke.
Loki if you want.
Right, but what if Loki was something that you didn't like hearing, but it's actually Luke, like you said. And
Mhm.
and and so the idea is, I'm just like, if you told me don't call me Loki and only prefer to be Luke, I would respect you. I wouldn't be an asshole and be like, no, I like Loki. It sounds cool. It's like a Norse god. You're Loki. That's who you are. And that would be very strange, would it not?
I guess, but like, no, it's. I think it's pretty. It's a little hard to like describe, but like, if like in your no, that's pretty hard. Yeah, I don't
right?
really know
So
what to say.
yeah, well, they're
Yeah.
just being assholes, right? And you have a
Yeah.
choice. You can be an asshole, or you can be somebody who's nice and kind to people, their fellow human beings. And
Yeah, but like they
because
don't
I'm
see
not
them. They don't
enforcing a law.
see. Yeah.
Look, I'm not trying to enforce a law to make them call me a woman or call me a she, her. That's not, I would prefer that they would, but if they don't, I can care less. They're just assholes and I don't want to be friends with them.
Mm.
And so for me, that's how I look at this situation is they can be, jerks about it. It's fine. It's their free right to be jerks to people around them. But at the end of the
Mm.
day, it's like them choosing to not respect somebody's pronouns is exactly that. They're choosing to not respect the person. And they can have all of their excuses in their head saying, I'm just being truthful. I'm just being right. It's like, no, you're
Mm.
just being an asshole. And whatever lie you have to tell yourself to make you feel not like an asshole, then that's the lie that they have to tell themselves. But that's essentially how it goes. And there's no magic wand. And believe me, Lux and I would wish we had a magic wand that could just like shift somebody's mindset to not be transphobic.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
we don't have that. We can just say, okay, like, good for you. You called me a he, him. Do you feel better now? Do you feel like a big person? Like, that's all we can do, right? Because we're not going to let it ruin our lives just
Yeah.
because somebody wants to be a jerk about it. Lux, I kind of went on this whole time. If you want to say something.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. I mean, I
No.
guess I stepped away for a second to go to the restroom, so I was, I guess, wondering like if there isn't a distinction in terms in the language that you speak, and if it's typically used to describe biological sex, then how do you handle trans people currently? Like, what is the current model under which trans people do they use different pronouns, or like do trans people
I mean,
themselves also not care?
we do have different pronouns, just like he, him, and she, her, and stuff like that. We do have that.
Yeah.
It's just that my friends then they say like they're just being like they're just being objective, like right, not playing on feelings and all of that.
But trans people do transition pronouns. It's just that you have some reactionaries who are against it. I mean, that happens in America too, right? Like we've got people who are like, he, him means you have a penis and that is it. And it's like, okay, well, that's, not very nuanced. So I see. You're just running into the same problem that we are. Okay. I was misunderstanding it as like a uniquely Norwegian problem.
Mm-mm.
So
It's
that makes
not
a little bit more
unique.
sense. No, not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, but like it's exactly that like he, him is those who have penises and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they concluded that like if someone has XY and if someone has XY chromosomes, any of them, like even those with Sawyer syndrome, you see him, and if they have XX chromosomes, you use she, her. And like
Yeah,
I haven't
this
found
is
that,
classic.
like because I like to being as objective as possible, like not like doing something because like I feel because it makes someone happy. So like I haven't like found a like reason why one doesn't use like just the chromosomes, for example.
Is this you saying
If that
this,
makes
or
sense.
is this your friend saying this?
It's partially me and my friends. It's something we like concluded that on why
But you don't
doesn't
do,
one.
but do you do that to anybody else? Like, like if you see somebody who is just like, oh my gosh, let me try to think of something. So if somebody is suffering from like a loss of limb, would you just say that's a legless man? You're a legless man, and you would just refer to them as a legless person? Or would you respect them as a human being that's complete and whole?
No, I would probably just call them like like person. And
Exactly.
I do call
But you're
people
not
like
being
by the
objectively true, though, right? Like you're not being 100% objective when you're referring to that person.
yeah
Should you be
yeah but
objectively true and say that you're a legless man? You're not just a regular man, you're a legless one, right?
mm,
Like, it's like, what utility does it serve for you to be this accurate in your own mind concept when there's another human being that is also interacting with you in your real world, right? Because how does it hurt you as a human being to be like, that person is a trans woman, so they like she, her pronouns, so I'm going to do that? Why does it hurt you to do that, to call them she, her?
Well, I call people by their preferred pronouns. I just don't want to be like rude to them. We do have one trans person in our school, but like I don't know. I don't have like a reason to. I don't see like the reason, a reason other than just being nice, right?
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, are we running into an issue where like you at your level of exposure to this topic, like maybe you don't know as much about like the distinction between sex and gender, and like not only that, but like in a meaningful sense, trans people transition sexes when they undergo like the treatment. So like either direction you hit this from, I think, the conclusion is that it's reductionist to a point of absurdity to assign pronouns to chromosomes specifically. Because when we're talking about XY, there are XY individuals who have gotten pregnant, had unassisted births, and given birth to XY daughters with fully functional female reproductive systems. So, that is obviously only one example, and that doesn't even touch the topic of trans people, but it completely fails to have any utility, to be useful. It fails to be useful if we assign pronouns to obscure, invisible components such as chromosomes. So even if we're just looking at this as like, how do we define sex? Sex is a multimodal category. It's based on numerous different things, and it's a sliding scale in two different directions. So there's like a cluster of common characteristics grouped together, but there are extremes on either side and indecipherable category areas in the middle. So like if we're just looking at it from a sex characteristics perspective, if a trans woman does not have a beard and she has boobs and she has, long hair and she has nice smooth skin, if she is mostly indistinguishable from any other woman, because biologically they are very similar, and medically as well, like a trans woman needs the same type of cardiovascular care as a cis woman. Like those things become similar medically after hormone treatment. So yeah, and then on the angle that Josie is trying to argue, gender and sex are different things. So we're typically interacting with a person and not with their chromosomes. We're typically interacting with that individual and not with their genitals. So even if we were to define it based on genitals or reproductive capability, we're lacking utility, because there are women who are born without a uterus, and there are women who have to have their uterus removed, and there are men who lose their testicles in a horrible accident. So it just it's not as useful, in my opinion, to base them on that.
Yeah, I know that like gender is a social construct and all of that. Yeah, I understand that. But is it okay if I ask you a question? Because I do think that you're trans, right?
Yeah, we are both trans.
Yeah. I'm sorry if this seems like insensitive or something, this question. But
that's what we're here for. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But because like a big point that my friends have that is that transness is a mental illness, because you believe something you aren't. And their main point is that trans people believe that they are a different sex than they are. But do you like? Are you? Is it just like transitions, or is it believe you also have different sex?
So trans people we have to do what in the therapy that I did is called radical acceptance of our biological sex. Trans people, by taking hormones, we are explicitly acknowledging our biology that we were born with. And we're saying this is the thing that is bothering me and that I want to change. So by and large, it is like the absolute confrontation with reality that then causes us to say, I need this to change. So trans people are very aware of their biological sex. It happens to also be that if you are on treatment for a certain period of time, or if you get certain procedures done, you have changed enough of your biological sex that it does not make any sense anymore, practically or medically, to continue saying you're biologically male. Like, all we're really doing at that point is just leaving open a door for people to be transphobic. So that, in my opinion, like, I am not going to ever refer to a trans woman as male. Like, that's just not going to happen. If we're having a complex conversation, we will invoke those realities, of course, but like, I would not say that trans women are male, because that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, it just is objectively untrue in the majority of cases of women that I know. Like, it does not make any sense to call them biologically male. Obviously, they had to go through the transition process to change that. And again, that requires like a radical confrontation with reality,
Yeah. And to get to your, go ahead and respond, and then I have one more thing to say.
And is there like a clear line? Would you say there is a clear line or something where someone goes over from, like, you would say they are a female, but then they're male, or male to female?
Well, as I said earlier, when I was describing the characteristics that people are born with, I acknowledge that there is a certain area in the middle of the two bimodally distributed categories where there is a kind of undefinable center area. And so I think that, you could say that trans people can occupy that area. But like, there is like definitely a certain point where it's like, if you have had every procedure that is functionally available to you, yeah, I'm like, that's a clear indication, right? But we could have numerous examples in the middle where I would say, like, I'm comfortable with there not being a clear binary definition for this. Like, if we could look at trans bodies as like, I don't want to say intersex, but like a term like that, I could say that it would be like interesting academically, but for functional purposes, trans women are female,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll let you go ahead, Josie, because you wanted to jump in.
I just want to say this. There is no utility either to stigmatizing an entire group of people as mentally ill either.
True.
The idea of mental illness is stigmatizing the treatment that we have to undergo. Like, if somebody is depressed, you don't call them mentally ill, you call them depressed. They have a condition that makes them depressed. And because the second you start just calling people mentally ill or things like that, you make people not want to seek treatment, and that is not a good thing. It's like, if somebody is like schizophrenic, you want to say they have the condition of schizophrenia, not that they're mentally ill and schizophrenic, because then all of a sudden you've now stigmatized them to even get the diagnosis in the first place. There is a diagnosable condition that trans people some trans people have, which is, gender dysphoria. But that is only just allowing us to go into the medical process to allow us to have the medical transitional treatment that is basic healthcare, because gender dysphoria is only just an uncomfortability of the incongruence of your your birth sex versus how you actually are in your gender identity. And so as soon as you get the healthcare that you need, gender dysphoria symptoms for the most part alleviate. And I can say this as somebody who's had severe gender dysphoria and have had it pretty much fully alleviated through the healthcare that I've received. And I don't consider myself mentally ill. I just consider myself somebody who needs healthcare. Like, and there should be no shame in receiving healthcare when you need it for whatever condition that you may have. So that's why I always reject the mental illness framing, because that is an old way of thinking that used to be used to lobotomize people or institutionalize people in mental asylums, because that's what they used to do, is they used to just put people in mental asylums as they deemed mentally ill. So yeah, so I reject the framing of mentally ill.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, the person I'm like specifically thinking about, he is like pretty against like all like this. I don't think he believes really in transness at all. He uses like, for example, I'm not sure what it's called in English, but like those really skinny people who think they're overweight.
Anorexic?
Body
Yeah, anorexic.
dysmorphia, I think.
Yeah, he uses people like that. Like, oh, we have to. He says like, oh, if we accept like trans people as being men or women when they're
So,
not, we should.
I would love to jump in on that
Yeah, of
because
course.
the approach to those two things is dramatically different. You're talking about in English, in America, we call it body dysmorphia. That like literally, like you look in the mirror and you see something that isn't there. Basically, that gets worse the more the person tries to pursue and manage. Like you get your nose job done, and then suddenly you're looking at getting another surgery, and it never fixes the problem. That like pursuing the change of your body never fixes the problem. But with gender dysphoria, and this is one like the biggest, most fundamental difference between these two things. And it's weird because the words are so similar in English that people will sometimes use them interchangeably and correctly. But gender dysphoria resolves when you get the changes that you want. And when we're looking at mental health care, and so maybe this could help you a little bit, when we're looking at mental health care, we're looking at things like how does this impact a person's ability to actually just do basic things in their life? Like executive function or activities of daily living, like taking a shower, getting to work on time, completing your homework. And so when we get diagnoses, we're looking at a clinical level of distress or like a clinical level of dysfunction, something that's medically noteworthy. So with trans people, when you are initially diagnosed with gender dysphoria, there is some level of measurable negative impact on your ability to just kind of function in your regular life. Like, trans teenagers refusing to take showers because they hate being naked so much. Like they dislike their body and seeing it. So impacting activities of daily living. And when trans people get gender affirming care, all of those metrics of distress, the things that we would consider like if we were looking at depression, for example, as a mental illness diagnosis, those things all go away, meaning that it's not a mental illness. It gets resolved medically, and then it is just a solved problem from that point. I mean, you might be still maybe, some aspect that is not able to be solved through surgery, like you're really, really tall and you don't like that or something. But if you're able to resolve most of those issues to the point where that person is now fully adjusted into their role and they're living life normally and none of those activities of daily living are being impacted negatively, then that's one of the clearest things for me that shows that this is not a mental illness. And you don't see that with body dysmorphia. The more the person tries to change, the worse the condition gets.
Yes. Yeah. I think I said the same to him, and like you said that like it's the thing I remember most. He said it's like it's a mental illness because because people are cutting their genitals off and
we're not
all
like
of this.
the only time that a trans person, I know a trans person that actually did cut themselves and tried to cut their genitals off because they were denied actual doctor prescribed healthcare. Like they were denied healthcare and they couldn't afford it because they were actually a military veteran, and the military did not, and the veteran like institutions that were supposed to get healthcare refused to give her healthcare. That she had a distress moment where she actually did self-harm to herself. So the only time those drastic measures ever happen is when we don't receive the medical health care in the first place. So we're not cutting anything off unless we are at dire straits without health care.
Yeah.
And my surgical intervention is not cutting anything off. It's a prescribed medical process that a surgeon is trained to do to give that result that I need. There is no cutting off happening. It's a
Yeah.
medical procedure. Would you say that cutting off a finger that has gone completely gangrene, would cutting that finger off be mentally ill too? Because you're having a surgeon cut something off your body?
I have an even better example.
Yes.
Cis women who are born with a vulva sometimes get a surgery that basically removes the labia minora, because the labia minora sometimes gets stretched out, and it like is like, it's a completely aesthetic surgery. It has absolutely nothing to do with function or anything for the most part. So like, are those women mentally ill because they had the completely healthy labia minora cut off of their body to achieve a pornographic result even? It's a sexually deviant behavior, mental illness, autogynephilia. I can make the same argument about literally fucking anything.
Yeah, I guess he would say like the same for that. But
at least he's consistent then, and it's not just trans people. You've got that much going for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I think most of the problem is that he has all of these conservative views of what a trans person is. Like, they just change into men and then walk into bathrooms and that type of view.
Then he should do it. Then tell him to do it. Tell him to go and do a complete gender transition just for this fun, and tell me how wonderful it was for him to go and do that.
Yeah. Or be like, listen, I know that you're a rapist, but that doesn't mean that everybody else isn't. Now shut the fuck up and never bring this up again. Like, I would 100% be at that level with this dude by now.
Yeah, because it's just bonkers. Like, tell him to go and do it. Tell him to go and transition into a woman, and then tell him how easy it was for him to do.
Yeah, and how much access it gave him.
He is listening right now, so
you're dumb.
Yeah, it's completely silly. The idea,
and you're a coward. You should have called in.
Yeah, because the idea that somebody's going to transition their entire lives and gender and their whole entire social network and everything that they do just to go into a girl's bathroom, that's crazy.
To have your penis shrink and stop working in order to access women for a sexual purpose. So fucking dumb. No man is going to do that.
And no man is going to do that. Like, like a trans woman does the transition because they're trans women. No man is going in. And guess what? And if a predator wants to go and assault a woman in the bathroom, do you think a bathroom sign is going to stop them?
Yeah. And also, they could just claim to be trans men, and they were born with a vagina anyway. So anyway,
like it doesn't even make sense. But I appreciate the call. Tell your friend to call in next time.
That's it. That's like all of our time for today, Loki. But we appreciate you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
So I'm looking at either 1983 or 2249.
Are you on call-in studio?
I am, because it's better.
I mean, debatable. The more we have to bounce back and forth between things. Okay, what did you say again? What were the numbers you said?
The last two. So the last two on the list.
I think Arden said number 22 was probably more overtly contentious. So
let's go ahead and do that one then.
Yeah. We're going to talk to Jacob. Yeah, Jacob, he, him pronouns, 22 from California, who wants to talk about trans women not being women. Hold on real quick. I'm going to click the button, actually. Jacob, you are live with Luxander and Josie. How you doing? Can you hear us?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing all right. How are you today?
Going well.
Not too bad. I'm on lunch break, so hopefully it's a good conversation.
Yeah.
No, great.
We'll try to get through it concisely.
So tell us why you believe that trans women aren't women and trans men aren't men. I would love to know your reasoning.
Well, I think ultimately a lot of what was said with the previous caller, I think a lot of it is when you have the sentence like trans women are women, I guess it's confusing also just for me as well, because we're using the same words. One is gender and one is sex. So what you guys said a second ago kind of made sense to me, because I heard one of you guys say well, we're not claiming to be biological, but to me, I guess it's less important what you guys feel like you are and more important what you biologically are. Because like a lot of what you guys are saying too is it's because it's societal and whatnot. But to me, like just because it's the societal consensus on what something is, that's not really important either. It's about what's factual, because at one time society thought it was okay to own a human being. At one time society thought that it was okay to have
Jacob, I want to jump in on because you said something. You said something that I think is so interesting. You think that it's not about society's consensus, but it is about scientific.
Yeah,
it's about scientific consensus.
Not necessarily scientific consensus.
No, you said truth.
Factual.
Well, okay,
consensus.
but where? Yes, I understand. I'm trying to hone in on where the facts are coming from. Whose facts? What fact? Who determined the facts?
So that's why that brings me to another question. If that's your question, does that mean that when I say that it's wrong to own a human being, that's not a fact? That's an opinion, also.
No, well, that's completely two different things.
I'm not trying to make a distinction between fact and opinion right now. So we can come to like a moral truth. That would be like what I would consider, talking about slavery. We would be talking.
Maybe I was just misunderstanding.
No, it's okay, and I think it's fair to try to hit it from multiple different angles. And maybe what you're touching on is that to some degree the determination of what man and woman are is maybe it's related to a moral issue in your interpretation, whereas I would say that it's an issue of scientific merit. Like we can scientifically ascertain answers to these questions, which is why I'm asking you what you mean by facts. Like what fact are you basing this off of, and where did that fact come from?
The fact that a trans woman isn't a biological woman.
But you're asking where I got that. You're conflating the words. No. So go ahead.
You're trying to say that it's a fact that the word woman means female. Is that right?
No, I was more saying that to me it's a fact that a trans woman is not a biological woman. So
okay. But what you're saying, you
have to play off that.
The problem that we're running into here, Jacob, is that you are saying that the word woman means female. And that's kind of what I'm coming to is like, where did you get that? Where did you get that information from?
Well, I think that, when that's like originally when human beings discovered language, when someone had reproductive.
So it is a matter of societal consensus then, because you're saying that this is the way everybody uses it.
Organs is what.
But you're saying this is the way everybody uses it.
No, you could still say the word like blue means red, but it's still. I'm talking about what inherently it is. You guys are talking about the word that you use for it. So are you saying that the word has changed for the meaning of it then?
A little bit, yeah. I think that it's common parlance.
So that would be.
It's the idea that that language evolves, right? Would you agree with that?
Okay, see, now I'm sure, yeah. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now I'm understanding. So I guess what my question is, why?
Because
why does it matter more how you feel than how you biologically? It's
not about how we feel.
And this is coming from someone who is straight, who has never felt the urge to be another so any time I'm asking something that sounds disrespectful, I really don't mean to be. I promise you that.
Jacob, it's fine. We're good. We're completely fine. We've done this for years. I come across straight sometimes, and continue.
You're not coming from a bad place. I can sense that. We're all good.
We were fine. We will turn up the heat if we feel it going the other way. So this is how the words evolve and why words evolve. Is the idea of the depth of humanity is more. That has more depth than people originally think about in the way that we use our words. So for example, gender and sex are two different things. And I can explain this in a societal point of view and not even a biological point of view, for example. But first, before we get there, I will explain why gender and sex are different, and I can do it historically as
Well,
well.
I understand
But
why they're different. I guess I was more confused why the definition in your guys' view has changed to mean gender more than like why does the gender of a person matter more than the sex of a person to where the definition
because
has shifted to mean that?
well, the definitions didn't shift. It's just that the definition is what it is. Gender is what we interact with in our daily
Well, do you think
lives,
it's
right?
always been that way?
Pretty
Well, I don't
much,
think it's
yeah.
always been that way.
Okay,
It wasn't always how
all
you
right. So here,
identify. It was
let me
it's what you
explain it.
biologically were.
Jacob, let me explain it this way then. All right. So what is the biological component that makes women want to wear dresses? What femininity? So why do women like to wear dresses right now?
I don't think there's a biological component that makes someone want to
So
wear
what
a dress.
is that?
I think
What
that's
is that? What is that
societal.
component? Which is what? Gender, right?
Sure. I mean, I guess I kind of am a little confused what you're saying, but continue.
So let me so I'll keep going down this point. So back in the past, high heels, bright pinks, and and powdered wigs were masculine, and that didn't have anything to do with biology either, right? It was
Even in this very country, only a couple hundred years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a
Well,
biological
no,
thing.
I don't know if I would agree with that though. I would say like even to this day, like most people, they have their baby and they find out, oh, it's a girl, and they start buying a certain type of clothes for what they biologically are. I just had a son, and I didn't start buying dresses.
Well, the thing is like, again, we're talking about society, right? Because I'm not even talking about biological. I'm talking about societal. The femininity of people wanting to wear dresses and makeup, and then you have the masculinity of high heels and dresses and powdered wigs. In the past, we also have the fact like throughout history, the social construction of gender has shifted and had nothing to do with biological sex. Would you agree with that?
That it's shifted?
Yeah,
and it hasn't had anything to do with their sex.
Yeah, right.
Sure, I would agree that that what the person wore has shifted, but it still is.
But that's
like
gender,
so whatever
though,
the
right?
current
That's a
thing
gendered
is,
expression.
it's still based off their. See, I don't know
It's
if I would agree with that.
Jacob,
because
I really need to interject on here. I guess I feel like Josie, do you feel like you're getting close to something? Because I want to hit something different.
Well, let me just finish this point.
Yeah.
I'll be finished real quick. So Jacob, what I'm trying to describe to you is the evolution of social construction of gendered categories and gender expression. That is something that is completely separate from the biological reality of somebody's birth sex. So
maybe the words are just confusing me. Why is this gender expression and not sex expression? Because what is making them wear these certain things? Like, go back to the powder wigs and stuff. It was based on what their private areas were.
No, not at all. It's like there was no biological reason why they did powdered wigs. It was just because it was the social construct of what the gender did.
Why do most people then right now that are pregnant with a little girl buy dresses instead of male
because
clothing?
Of this gender social construction.
Gender identity. No, but it's
gender social
I'm
construction.
saying that it's their sex though that has made them buy that, not their gender.
Yeah. Okay. So they're imposing a gender on this child is kind of what Josie is driving toward. That they're imposing this.
They're imposing
gender,
the current feminine societal clothing towards
understanding of gender.
And when the kid doesn't like that, there's a social stigma, and sometimes they even get punished for it. If a little boy wants to wear a dress, sometimes he gets beat for it, by his dad, his own dad.
Yeah.
So that's okay. But what I want to get in on here is that, Jacob, the reason that we do that nowadays, and the reason why you believe that historically this has always referred to biological sex only, is because literally because of the Nazis, literally literally and actually because of the Nazis, like, and also Christian colonialism as a
whiteness
side
and
effect.
Pan-Europeanism and all the
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
like white supremacy, colonialism. It has been a global like effort because Christianity and white supremacy and all this kind of tie in together with one another. And so, like, there are many cultures across the planet that have had historical roles and acknowledgments of people with, sexual differences in terms of what they were born with and differences of gender identity. Numerous different Native American tribes had their own unique terms for that. And nowadays we kind of group all of those different terms into one thing and we call it two-spirit. But there is an ancient, tradition amongst Native American tribes of multifarious gender identity roles that are not exclusive to their biological sexes. And the Hijra in India, and probably a bunch of other ones that I've never heard about because people just were burned and killed and their letters were burned and they just didn't make it into the history books, which were being written by fucking Catholics. So it really is truly like a brand new innovation that Christian white nationalist type people came up with within the last 100 years, or like the last couple 100 years, let's be generous and say the last couple 100 years, a campaign to erase and stamp out a fundamental and natural expression of human variation. So it's really frustrating for people who just don't know all of that to be like, well, why are we suddenly changing the definitions now? No, we are returning to tradition. We are returning to conservative values when it comes to gender identity and gender expression and gender roles. So yeah, what do you think of all that, Jacob?
Well, I understand what you guys are saying. I understand where you guys are coming from, but I still think what I'm saying isn't fully being addressed, because what I called in is legitimately trying to understand, and I hope you guys do feel that, why that matters more than the sex. Why your gender expression matters more than that.
Because it always has.
Maybe you're right.
Because it's a fundamental aspect of humanity. Since before we could write, since before we had written language,
you guys are
human
saying
gender expression has varied.
So Jacob,
your ignorance is not an argument here, to be clear.
Yeah, it's
your ignorance is not an argument.
Hold on, let me get to that. That's what I'm trying to say. You guys just claimed that I am ignorant because of Christian colonialism and Nazis and all this stuff. I'm sitting here trying to say,
entirely your own fault.
Well, tell me why it's that way. Tell me.
So here it is.
Tell me
so Jacob,
why it's an inherent thing. You guys are saying that was around before what we had, but why is that right?
What do you?
Does that make sense?
I guess I'm making an appeal to the natural. I guess it's a little bit of a fallacy.
Yeah. So let me jump in really quick, Jacob. There are when you as a human being, there's a lot of things that we kind of encompass, right? And and I always say there's like 5, which I think is very important, which is your sex that you're born and assigned, which is your sex. There's your gender identity, the gender that you identify. There's your gender expression, which is the gender, that expression like feminine or masculine or anything in between or around. And then you have sexual orientation, meaning like who you're attracted to and who you want to love and be with. And then there's also relationship configuration, a person that wants to love none to many different types of people. A lot of people are monogamous, for example. So for me, Jacob, I'm going to give you an example of how this works. I was assigned sex at birth, male. My gender identity is woman. My gender expression is feminine. My sexual orientation is bisexual. My relationship configuration is polyamorous, meaning I can have more than one partner. Now, can you do that for yourself?
Yeah, I could, but I'm just trying to get at why this matters.
Just do it. Just do it for me, because it's part of why. Do the exercise.
Okay. I am.
So, what is your sex?
This is what learning is like.
Is it
you
okay
have to do exercises.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, what is your sex?
If you guys feel like this is helpful, I will suffice. Okay.
Okay. What is your sex?
My sex is male. My
gender identity.
What was the next one? Gender identity is male.
Man.
Man.
Okay, and your gender expression?
What was the next one?
Gender expression, like masculine or feminine. Okay, great. Your sexual orientation.
Straight.
Okay, and your relationship configuration. Are you monogamous? Are you poly? Are you ace?
Just
monogamous.
One with one other person. I don't know what those
monogamous. Words mean. Okay, it's monogamous.
Monogamous,
right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Mono. My bad. That's my bad.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. So Jacob. Now, the reason I had you do that exercise is because those all distinctly are individual to who you are. Right? Just like to mine, they're all distinctly individual to who I am. It's the ability for me to describe myself and my lived experience of my identities and who I am as a person more clearly. Because if I just say, I am male, therefore man, that wouldn't make sense because I'm actually a trans woman. So so therefore I need more of a clarity for me to be able to say, I may have been a sex male at birth, but I actually am a woman gender-wise, so therefore I'm a trans woman. Just like when you say you are a male and you identify as a man, that means you're a cis man, right? Those words all matter in the detailed description of a human being as a person. And when we understand each other better, it allows us to be able to communicate better, it allows us to work better with people, it allows us to understand cultural understandings of individuals. Those are all different things because you can go beyond just those five. You can go with race, you can go with ethnicity, you can go with your favorite sports team, you can go with your favorite flavored ice cream. All of those different things are all words that we're able to use to describe one's self-lived experience. So that's why we have a richness in our wording. That's why we separate the words gender and sex, because when we're able to do that, we're better to understand the human being that we're talking to. Does that make sense on why we have, that's why we have broadened the description of a human being?
Well, I guess I'm still wondering why okay, so and you guys can correct my terms, why gender identity is more important than sex.
It's not that it's more important, it's just that we all have one.
Well, he's asking why would we allow that definition to supersede the biological association with the pronouns?
But that's the premise.
Sure.
Hold on, wait one second.
Sure,
I don't agree with your premise, Jacob. They're all equal. They're all part. There's nothing that outweighs the other. It's just the reality of the world.
The question is, why shouldn't we just use pronouns to refer to biological sex? I think is what this is all coming down to. Is that not what the whole contention is?
Thank you.
Yeah. The whole contention is that he thinks that we should use pronouns for biological sex.
Then what's the point of even having a gender identity in that case, Jacob?
Because this goes down to just more than this. When we're like dictating all these things, especially since there's major surgeries involved over this
describing.
Feeling.
It's not a feeling.
Feeling
okay. Oh no. Hey, Jacob, I'm gonna pull back. I'm gonna pull back. Jacob, shut up for a second or I'm gonna mute you. Look, it's not a feeling, it's an identity. It is who we are. When I say gender identity, you say you're a man. No, how do you okay, let me just say this.
That's how
Jacob.
I feel also.
Why do you feel as a man? Describe the feeling of being a man.
Yes, I feel that way. That's how I feel.
Describe that feeling to me. Describe what makes you feel like a man.
In my pants, I have a penis and balls.
So you have to grab your dick every time you think about being a man?
No, it's not. I don't really have to think about that. Like you guys have to think about it so much.
So Jacob, I'm not thinking about it so much. I'm thinking about being a woman just like you think about being a man. It's just what is. It is so.
Why does it matter though? Why do you
Because people like you just said, people have to get surgeries for this type of stuff, right? That's
They do,
why.
and I have to pay for them with my tax dollars because of your feelings.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Do you-
Jacob, so now we're reaching that spicy point of the conversation, right? Because now you are trying to restrict my human rights based on your idea of
It's
what
not a
I
human
have to
right.
go
You're
through
paying
to
for it
live.
with my money. You're stealing my hard-earned money.
Okay,
But you
Jacob,
feel
hold
like
on.
you're a
you've just
woman.
crossed the line.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, so the thing is that like I'm also a taxpayer and I deserve to get benefits for that. And also we all pay insurance companies together. And if you get Viagra
And
covered
we
by
should pay for
insurance that I
plastic
paid in
surgeries
for,
as well.
Jacob, hey, listen.
Jacob, we
I would
tried
like
to
you
take
I
you
would
in
like
good faith.
It's
I
all
am still trying to
cosmetic.
take you in good faith. Like I'm still trying to take you in good faith. The thing is, Jacob, that I think what you're doing is trivializing something that is life or death for people, and that's why Josie is starting to get really agitated with you because it's trivializing to say it's cosmetic, but people, like we were talking earlier, like people take radical action to sometimes remove their own body parts because of how much of a problem this is for them. You know, we are still working on the science of this, but it does seem like there are components of biology that could be contributing to why trans people are, have existed throughout all of human history, right? This is like, it seems to be a fact about humans. I think we could just say it's a neurobiological fact that some people have this thing about them. You could call it by a lot of different words. But I think that calling it cosmetic and treating it that way is trivializing because when people access this medical care, suddenly they were struggling before. They were struggling to keep a job. They were struggling to even take a shower. And then they received the medicine, and then it resolves the distress, and then they just transition into a fully functional person a lot of the time. And all of those things that you would consider like dysfunctional or mentally ill, those things go away, and people die over this. Like teenagers die over this. And it's not really kind of you in this interaction to be trivializing it that way. Does that make sense?
Well, I apologize if at any point I have came off as disrespectful, first off, because I am just, like, that's why I tried to say beforehand, I kind of just maybe I use terminology that could be hurtful from my background, and I also am just naturally an intense person. I get told that a lot. I'm working on it. So I apologize if I have hurt anybody with, like, my word choice, like, because it's not that I was like personally trying to insult you. That's just the only words I know how to describe
it
what
does
my
reveal the way
ideas.
that you think about it. It does reveal the way that you think about it. If you think like,
Well, 'cause
you're taking my tax dollars to do this unnatural thing just because you feel like it, like that does reveal some things.
I never even said unnatural. I was more trying to say that if we just
I omitted the word
based on,
steal,
like,
and you used the word
people-
steal. I was actually trying to give you a more like a nicer version of what you said. What you said was trans people are stealing your money to have frivolous cosmetic procedures.
Well, they are when
All right, Jacob.
when I'm paying taxes, I lose that money and I don't get it
is
back.
the U.S. government
Is
the U.S. government stealing from me because I don't want to fund a multi-billion-dollar in military industrial complex? Are they stealing my money
Absolutely.
because they're using it? Okay, so
Absolutely.
maybe we just fundamentally disagree about whether we should live in a society that's mutually supportive, and that's a conversation that we would need to have like next week.
And look, I'm going to leave the tax thing behind because I paid with my own money all of this stuff. Like, it's out of control how much
it's only
expensive
like
it is.
poor people who need to use that service.
So first off, Jacob, what I'm finding offensive is that you think that somebody's identity is a feeling and not something that is, right? Because the reason we did the exercise about the 5 things that I chose to talk about, which was sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, as well as sex, assigned at birth, and relationship conversation, is to describe to you how a human being is as they are, as a complete human person. And the idea is, Jacob, you are a man because you are a man, because you told me you're a man. I don't care about how you feel like it's like a man or anything like that, because my identity as a woman is a woman. It's the gender identity that I have. You cannot take that away from me. It's not a feeling that I have, it's just what is so. So that's where my major contention is in the conversation that you're having. Like, is that you think gender identity is a feeling.
Can I ask, like, can I kind of let you know, like, jump in and tell you why it seems that way from an outside perspective?
Well, before you do that,
maybe you can correct me.
Before you do that, I did say gender expression and gender identity is two separate things. Gender expression is how you present to the world, masculine, feminine, or anything in between or around, right? Like that is gender expression. People can have gender expressions that are different from their gender identity, such as a tomboy or a feminine man, whatever you want to be able to say, right? So with that in mind, go ahead and explain to me why you think gender identity is a feeling versus a fact.
Because it could change, like feelings do. There's people who at one point will identify as a man, and later in their life they begin to identify as a woman. And that's coming from people people I know that have actually had trans surgeries. That's how it was explained to me. They felt like they were a woman most of their life.
Trying to explain something to you.
They started to identify as a man.
Jacob, you have zero personal experience, and it's kind of like a weird thing to personally experience. And so people are trying
right at the beginning.
Jacob. People are trying to explain it to you in a way that you might be able to relate to the concept. Like people used to say, like, I was born with a woman's soul in a man's body. It was using this religious framework to communicate this idea. And people seemed to kind of get it back then. Like, oh, I could see that, like a man's soul placed in a woman's body, or the opposite way around, or whatever. That is an oversimplification that is just trying to get you translating on the very basic idea, okay? And because somebody didn't figure it out until they were 40, doesn't necessarily mean that their time spent as the gender that they grew up as, that doesn't mean that it was a good time. That doesn't mean that it was fun. It doesn't mean that they enjoyed it. They probably were suffering silently for a very long time. It does not seem like this is something that changes. Josie has been out and as trans for what, like 5-6 years now? Yeah, I've been out for like 17 years. Like I realized this about myself when I was a teenager, and I'm in my 30s. So it doesn't seem to change for most people who proceed onto the treatment.
Feel that way doesn't mean everybody do, because I've talked deeply
the regret rate about it. Hey, the regret rate, Jacob. Hey, the regret rate is 1%. So when people pursue this, it's 1%. I was told
3% by Jovan the other day.
Well, okay. Jovan, we all take different facts. But so look, Jacob, like look.
But it's a very low percentage still. You know what I mean?
It's still incredibly low, and this is what it is, Jacob. I served in the U.S. Navy. I didn't transition till I was 34 years old. That still didn't change the fact that when I was raised as a conservative Catholic in rural Texas that had no idea what transness was outside of Jerry Springer and Ace Ventura when I grew up in the 90s, doesn't mean that I wasn't wishing that I woke up a woman every night when I was still in the freaking Navy at the same, like the idea that it's like, oh my gosh, it's a discovery. That's the word you got to think about. It's a discovery,
and that
Jacob.
Must be really hard. Like
it is. I didn't know true happiness. I did not.
I only can imagine. How hard that
so
be.
Jacob, I discovered it because I was not somebody, I did not have the education or ability to understand that, hey, it's completely normal to want to be a woman or a woman in a man's body, whatever you want to do, however words people want to describe it. I didn't even get those words. I had to suffer in silence. I had to get big and tough and like buff and all of that and learn jiu-jitsu just to fight off the bullies because I had to live in that nightmare. And the reality is, Jacob, I've always been a woman. It just took me longer to discover it.
Yeah.
because I didn't have the ability to discover it when I in the situations that I was like, and when I walk like a girl at 4 years old, my father beat me,
Hmm.
right? Because he said that
I know that
no
feeling,
son of mine,
not for the
right?
reasons, but
But you know what I
yeah.
mean? So the idea, that's why when you say it's a feeling, it's incredibly disrespectful to me because it's who I am.
Well, I will
And
not
that
use that terminology anymore because that was the best I could say for what my paradigm was when I said it. I
exactly.
didn't.
Okay. And
But,
that's why words
but
matter, right? That's why we describe words better. And that's why we talk to each other better, because my identity as a woman is something that I am and not something that I feel. So when the phrase trans women are women, that means that they are women. They didn't become women. They didn't all this type of stuff. It's something that they identify as because it's what is the truth for them. So when you say trans women are women, that's what that means.
It's noteworthy to say, Jacob, here that, and this is probably one of the elements that is missing for cis people when they're trying to relate to trans people, is we experience this as something that happens to us, like that we are confronted by suddenly sometimes. Like we're like trying to just like live our lives and do what we're supposed to do, and do the things and dress the way that we're supposed to and everything. And for some people, it hits like a fucking truck, and you're just like, oh, now I'm confronted by this thing, like this, incongruence or feeling or whatever it is that you want to call it, I guess. And the only choice really in that dichotomy is like, okay, I'm going to try to ignore this, or I'm going to investigate this. And investigation often leads to like, let's try transition and see how that works. And then the distress goes away, right? So, but it's not something that we decided. And, it's not like we were like, I used to like that person, but now I don't. It's not like I used to like that gender, but I decided that that gender was too frilly and I don't like that gender anymore. It's like being confronted with a blunt reality that you just have to fucking deal with now. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like hard to relate to anything that you might have experienced.
Yeah, and I want to add this too, Jacob. But when I was your age, I was operating nuclear reactors in the Persian Gulf during Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom. Like that's what I used to do at your age. And so when I
dang,
came
I'm just a
out, and
plumber.
yeah. Well, I mean, I was a glorified plumber in a lot of ways, but and the thing is, the reason I say this is when I was confronted with the reality of the discovery that I was a trans woman. You don't think that I poured over research and studies and gave myself almost ulcers on the stress of the idea of like this being the reality and lived experience of my life, having an entire career as a quote unquote man, having, a military career as well as a veteran of the United States Navy, having to tell my religious family that I was actually a woman this whole time. Like, do you think that any of that was easy? And would I do any of that for fun?
Look, let me make something perfectly clear. I was not here to. I could really appreciate how unbelievably difficult it could be. I could only imagine if I was in a woman's body and I felt like how I do, man. Like if, hypothetical situation, 90s movie.
Yeah.
I wake up in a woman's body. I would.
Yeah.
I can imagine that is very, very difficult. And let me make something very clear. That's not what I came here to say. I've always said that. I've always said I feel really bad for anybody in the LGBTQ community because I can't imagine how difficult that should be. That would be to do that. And I want to make that very clear that
Well, I appreciate you
that's
saying that.
that's so hard. That's so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I've went through hard things, but that's different than anything I've experienced because, I feel like a man and I'm a man. And I'm not trying to say that. Let me just make it clear. What I think, and I would even say like there's a lot of people who are confused by this that are the same way where there's not like and trust me, most are not this way. Most are angry Christians are just like these mentally ill, trans people, godless heathens. That's where most people are. But I would say that's not where I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from is, I guess I'm confused still, just like why, like at the end of the day, it's with how difficult it is when like people are going through like such a crisis like this, especially other crises like depression and other things. It doesn't seem to me like that should be something that because ultimately, like what we were talking about in the beginning was really, it's about like definitions, and you guys want to be called by a certain definition because of your gender identity. Is that like a correct thing to say? Is like, so you guys want to be called a woman because you identify as a woman, and like the sex shouldn't be what determines that. I think most people aren't comfortable with that, and they aren't comfortable with that because their sex is deeply personal to them as well. And I've met women who are uncomfortable by it, and I think maybe that's something that can change. I'm not sure.
You're muted, Lux.
But
you're muted, Lux.
Just people feeling insecure about their gender, having anything to do with, like, did trans people, like, are you saying that cis people are thinking of trans people as like confrontational to their identity as a cis person?
Yeah, especially with like if you get into the sports stuff, I would say yes.
Well, I think that's slightly different.
Before getting into the sports,
we're not going to do sports today.
We're not doing it on this call. We've already been on this call for a while. I just want you to take a step back, Jacob, because you had this incredible like moment of sympathy and empathy for the lived experience of trans people, and you actually put yourself in our shoes for a moment, and you realized how difficult that would absolutely be. And I appreciate you doing that. But then you kind of like glazed over that and immediately went into the uncomfortability of other people. The reality is,
I'm trying to not be hurtful with the way I'm saying it.
But the thing is, the issue is right after you finish saying, like, I empathize, that must be awful, I sympathize with it, you immediately said, but I'm still confused. There is something that I have to say. You don't have to understand somebody's lived experience to respect who they are. And that's the reality.
Experience.
But
I guess where the difference is the reaction towards the experience.
But the reaction toward the experience should be what you said. That must be incredibly difficult for you. I'm glad that you're out of that mess.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, it was my health care. It was all of the things that I needed that allowed me to get out of the paralyzing state that I was in when I discovered that I was a trans woman. That's all I need from you, Jacob. Like that like as a human being to another human being, all I need from humanity is like, yeah, that sounds sucks, but now you're through it, and I'm gonna respect you for who you are right now. The issue becomes when people try to take things away from me because of my lived experience.
What would you say about that? When you like surgery and stuff, and what do you mean?
Well, first off,
like
there's the surgical care is one of them, but I paid for all of that. It doesn't even matter. But the thing is like removing me from public spaces because of the feelings of other people. Like, I mean, have you ever been in a space where you're just like, oh, I wish this person wasn't here, but you can't just kick them out because you don't want them to, right? Like, if somebody smells really bad, you're not going to stop them
because you guys are trans.
People have tried.
Not me personally, but like as a demographic, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
I've been denied healthcare before. Just recently, actually. Somebody said that they didn't want to prescribe me healthcare because they said they were uncomfortable.
A trans man famously died of ovarian cancer because I think a couple dozen doctors refused to treat him.
Yeah.
So yeah, like trans people die.
Yeah.
Oh, like straight up, we die because of attitudes that are harmful about, like, so when we say, like, you may have heard the term like pregnant people or people who menstruate, rather than like saying women, it's because men like Robert Eads go without care and die when they're not, when doctors and attitudes are not open and welcoming to them. When they're like, well, you would scare off all the women in my practice, or maybe this will teach you a lesson. You can't really be a man if you have ovarian cancer. So good luck with that,
Yeah,
and to be denied care until it becomes metastatic, it's fucked up.
Yeah, Jacob. Also, people have gotten kidney infections and died because they weren't allowed into public restrooms.
Yep.
There have been people
UTIs.
who have been put on the street and died due to exposure because they weren't allowed in a homeless shelter that because they were denied the access because they were trans. That's happened the same thing with abusive domestic relationships where people weren't able to go into domestic violence shelters, so they had to go back to their abuser and were later murdered. There have been several situations where trans people's identity on its face have ended their lives because people didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah. And like, to be clear, the reason that we're drawing that connection is because those attitudes of like, well, you're really just a man anyway, or I don't have to call you that pronoun. Those attitudes, which on their own, those are like, if somebody just doesn't call you what you want to be called, whatever. I used to work retail. I got misgendered all day, every day. It was not worth my time to try to correct people, right? That just is life. And sometimes people were jerks about it. Like sometimes people were overtly jerks about it. That's like on the mild end, but those attitudes build up and lead to, well, I don't have to treat that trans person because I have a religious objection. There is a direct through line between those attitudes and tangible physical harm done to trans people. Whereas when we're talking about like the comfort of cis women in public bathrooms, that's not an actual safety issue for them. Like there is no epidemic of men pretending to be trans women and going into the bathroom. We see that when these laws pass, it's cis women who don't look feminine enough that get targeted by it. So yeah, it just is an issue of like real tangible harms for trans people. And that's why we're so passionately defending the idea that this is, it's a life or death situation on numerous different fronts for us. And there are very few trans people. So every death is a much proportionately larger blow to the community than other demographics of people. If you're like 98% of the total population, then one person dying isn't like devastating to the like total population of the community. So yeah, that's why this is such a big deal, Jacob.
Yeah, well, I have thoughts to what you guys have said, but out of risk of not wanting to be hurtful with anything, I think.
Well, it's not.
I'll just
well,
call
we
it
can
from
start
this
there
point.
next time.
Yeah, I would love for you to mull it over and come back. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have been on this call and we were going to cut it off soon anyway.
Mhm.
But like I really want to start. I want to start there next time, Jacob, because we kind of started in the first 20 minutes of the call, but then we ended in a place where it didn't start. Right. So the conversation of like the dignity part of it.
There's still a lot of.
There is, and I'm ready to have those conversations with you.
Doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It doesn't have to make sense for you to respect somebody's identity. Right. And that's my final parting words.
Yeah.
I think that what identity actually is still just what confuses me.
Sure.
So, yeah, we can just
we'll start there next time. We'll start there next time. So
I appreciate Yeah, I appreciate you following the curiosity and wanting to have an intellectually honest approach to the topic. And it seems like you genuinely are trying to understand. So I appreciate that, Jacob. And I will be here damn near all month, almost every Thursday except the last Thursday. So if you call back, I'll probably be here. But thank you so much for your time, Jacob.
And
we appreciate
I'll be here
the
last Thursday.
Yep.
Hey, have a good rest of your day, Jacob.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. I'm making an executive decision and closing the lines because it's 2:00 and we still have several calls to get through. So if you haven't gotten in so far yet, we'll try to get to those who are waiting. We have a couple who are unscreened as well. But
we'll try to get through them.
Yeah, we'll try to get through everything. We don't have a hard stop today. Because I'm not doing calling it now afterwards. There was no co-host available. So we don't have a hard stop, but I don't want to go much further past when we usually do because I have homework. I'm a full-time student now, so
Oh, wow. Look at you.
yeah,
I miss being a full-time
I
student.
love it so much.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been fun.
Uh, all right. So we'll let you take the next one then.
I think okay, let's take, I don't know how to pronounce your name, so please correct me if I inevitably get it wrong. Etika from the US, who's got he, him pronouns and is age 22. Etika, tell me how to pronounce your name. Is that right? Can you hear us?
Yeah, you're right.
Hey, cool.
Okay.
I'll need you to take us off of speakerphone if we are on speakerphone, because I heard a little bit of an echo for a second there, but then we can proceed.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. People before said that it sounded fine on speakerphone, but I guess not.
Yeah, I just heard myself back a little bit, and I know that that's going to be like a speech jammer for me, so just moving
Yeah,
past
you're
it.
good.
Okay.
You're good.
So
Don't worry.
you're good. Lay your topic out. It says on my screening notes, the way trans people treat gender hurts more than if it wasn't cared about as much. Can you elaborate, please?
I guess like as for context, I don't care what anybody does with their bodies. We should all have free will, and we should all be treated equally under law. So that context aside, I think the way that gender is being treated in today's society actually hurts the trans movement and just the idea of normal people accepting it more than it actually pushes anything forward.
Can I just say hard agree, because Republicans continue to conflate gender and sex so hard
But
that the
I
way
think it
that
goes on both
public, the
sides.
way that well, no, I just want to say I agree that the way that the Republican and the conservative movement have conflated gender and sex so deeply that it's caused a massive outpouring of laws that have completely restricted abilities for trans people to go into public spaces. It has completely put it into the news. Most trans people just want to live their lives. It's the fact that
Yeah.
it was politicized by one movement, which is the conservatives and the Republicans and MAGA, that have completely destroyed how we view sex and gender. So I agree that the way that Republicans talk about gender has completely hurt everybody. Yes.
But I also think that y'all have been used by the left as not a scapegoat, but more of just like, look at them, they treat this group of people bad. So like the left
But
doesn't
we have
exactly
evidence.
use y'all
We
as
have
like
receipts.
we have people.
We have receipts.
Yeah,
Like
like
they stop.
I'm not gonna
Think about
say,
all the laws that have been passed against trans people, and specifically across every state, and even nationally at the Supreme Court just recently. Do we just sit
I'm not
back
gonna
and
say
just
that the
watch
right
it happen?
has treated y'all better. I'm not gonna say that the American right has treated y'all any better, because they definitely have done
Why
worse.
is it
You know, it's
our
obvious that they're the
why is
leader.
it our fault for us trying to defend our rights when they're being
Oh, that's not
stripped
what I'm
away
saying.
from us?
That's not what I'm
So,
saying at all. I'm saying that that both of the ideas of gender on both the right and the left are hurting the movement in general.
well, how is the left's ability to support human rights and making sure that people have dignity harmful?
Because it's not because that in the perfect world that would be what the left is doing, but they're not actually trying to do that. They're just using it as a scapegoat to get more votes. Most of these people on the left don't actually
use this
care.
as a can you please give me an example?
What leftist politicians have actually helped y'all in the last 30 years? What
Dana
leftist politicians have
Rome.
actually stopped the Republicans from doing
I'm
much?
sorry. How many leftist politicians have been elected in the past 20 years?
Yeah.
Well,
but
there you go. There's kind of my point.
Not very many, but that's because of the Democratic Party.
But hold on. Your premise is flawed. Sorry. No, it's the idea is like there have been many laws that are passed across the country that were always heralded by the Democrats, from equality acts across different states, and also making sure that we preserve the right to people to have public access to public spaces, making sure that healthcare is given and afforded to everybody, making sure that housing is not being used as a discriminatory tool, like all of those things, like trans, like the queer panic or gay panic defense. All of those things have been removed and fixed by Democrats. It's the right wing that has politicized trans people to the point where they're taking us out of bathrooms, they're taking us out of sports, they're taking our healthcare away. They're trying, like they literally say it, they're eradicating us from public life. And
But
the
you also
only
have
thing
to think about the country that you exist in. Like this is America.
No,
Even though I'm not
you
Christian.
haven't given me an example of how the left or trans people are hurting society more.
Okay, I think you took that too deep. I mean the idea of gender, the way that y'all are treating gender, and that both the left and right are treating gender, is pushing the movement of the world against y'all more than it helps.
Which
Not that
How?
it's hurting the
I
world.
I would like to know which element you are referring to. Which element of
As
how
an
we are
example.
treating gender is problematic for you?
Yeah.
As an example, if you were on an island with nobody else, like say you had infinite food, infinite wealth on that island, how would you dress? How would you still present yourself as?
Did
I
I
mean-
have society before this or after?
Also, is there a beach? Because naked all day
Like-
is the obvious answer.
Well, I mean, did I live in society? Did I land on this island randomly? Like,
No,
what are you talking about?
Literally, you get teleported. You get teleported. You have infinite food there, shelter, whatever. How would you dress? How would you carry yourself?
I would
Again,
go.
Would
I
you
would
still
go
be sick?
crazy because humans are social
Okay.
creatures,
Okay,
and then they
besides-
freaking. I'd probably just try to swim off into the distance and die because humans
Look,
without other
besides,
human
like-
interaction literally die.
Besides, like the human interaction part. Besides, like okay, that's like that's
naked
completely
all day.
taking it
I
out
already
of it.
answered this question. It's a beach. I would be naked all day, and there's
That's
nobody
kinda my-
around. I don't have to wear clothes.
I
But
don't.
that's
I
kinda my
like
point.
it's not. It's a silly. It's the reason
only
I'm not
reason
engaging the hypothetical is because the hypothetical is against the natural way of that humans are raised from little babies. Because who's gonna raise me as a little baby? I'm gonna die on the beach because nobody's gonna tend to me unless some like random gorilla is gonna try to take care of me like Mowgli in the fucking Jungle
I mean,
Book. But
Do you also
like
think Schrodinger's cat literally? Because I mean that's what it sounds like. 'Cause, like,
But I'm just trying to let you know that your scenario, even if I were to entertain the hypothetical, doesn't make sense because it doesn't have anything to do with the social construction of gender. Gender is a social construction, and without
that's kind of
society,
my
there
point.
is no
That's exactly my point.
so
Like the
in
way
your
that y'all are
world, if
treating
there's no society, there's no social construction. There's no money. There's no concept of understanding the measure of time. There's no currency. There's no economics. Like I think I'd be worrying about a lot more things than my own social construction of gender if I was on an island with nothing else other than food.
Food, well, I said food, like access to whatever you wanted, but you know, I guess besides that,
I would
that's
have
besides the point.
access to society. That's what I would want. I would want another human being to be there because
Or a
I would
computer.
go crazy.
What if both of y'all
That
were
is
there?
connected to human. So again, it's the idea of how can you can't create a hypothetical. You can create a hypothetical. You can create a hypothetical devoid of all social constructs and say,
Well, you're
what
not
if there was
actually
no
listening
social
to the reason
construct?
why I made the hypothetical in the first place, but
Well,
okay.
you're trying to make me live in a world with no social construct. That's what you're getting at.
No.
Because gender
What?
is a
Okay,
social construct.
You think
Gender is a
do you
social
think I want
construct.
you to live in a world where, like, do you think I want you to live in a world where everybody hates you? Is that what you're saying? Like,
No, I'm
is that
saying
what you're
in
saying?
your
Okay, good.
look, Erica, we've been doing this
She's
for years.
obviously addressing your hypothetical. What are you talking about?
Like Erica,
It doesn't really
we've been
sound
doing
like
this
it,
for years.
honestly.
Do you think that I haven't heard the island hypothetical before?
Are you struggling to track the conversation? Is that what?
Like Erica, I am
No,
trying to.
I'm just hearing two trans women just like keep talking and talking and talking over me
First
without
off,
actually
Oh,
like,
I'm
being
not a
able to make
trans
my point.
woman. That's very funny that you think that, though.
and,
Also very funny
Well,
for you
whatever,
to
what?
try.
That's another
Thank
thing. I don't
you.
really
I guess
care
thank
what
you.
anybody
Hold
else
on. I
is.
guess thank.
Like-
Hold on. I guess thank you for attempting to affirm our gender by talking about how we yap so much. That's a very. I appreciate the misogynistic, sexist
Well,
validation
yeah,
of Josie's
that's
gender, if
that's
not mine.
what I was saying at all. That's not what I
Erica,
was
hold
Oh,
on.
it
saying
kind
at
of
all.
did
That's
sound like you were about to be
push pause.
That is
shitty.
crazy.
Let me push
That
pause.
is completely
Erica, let me
nuts,
push.
dude.
Let me push pause for a second. So I've heard the island hypothetical 1.5 million times. So what I'm engaging
Okay.
with is the idea that you're trying to get to the point, and I already know where you're trying to get to the point, which is you're trying to lead me to the point of like, I don't know what my gender would be because I'm on an island and I have no ability to understand social construction of gender.
No, that's not at all what I'm saying.
I'm starting from
That's
the
not at all what I'm
point.
saying.
I'm starting from the point of gender is a social construct. So if I was on an island with no society, then I wouldn't even have the concept of gender, regardless of even language.
Well, I was mostly thinking it was like you right now, not like if you never had met any human from the beginning of time. Like come on, man. That doesn't make
What do
any
you
sense there.
mean? But that makes less sense. What you just said. So what?
Well, what do you
I'm
mean?
just the only
You
human
can't just
being
go.
on the
You can't
planet.
just go somewhere and be alone. No, what? You can't just go
No.
somewhere, be alone, and
So
act alone,
that's what
and
I
just like
asked
how would
you.
you
I
act
asked you
then?
at the beginning of your hypothetical. I said, was I already on the island? Did I get to the island? Was I born on the island?
No,
And you
I
said
said you
I was
teleported
born on
there.
the island. Yeah. Okay.
No, I
So
said you
I
teleported
would
there.
be Josie. I would be me. I'd dress like me right
Yeah,
now.
you would be me.
I
You would be me, and
I
you would have all your memories.
okay, so therefore I would be the trans woman that you see before you.
Okay, so how would you dress then? Like, how would you care to dress?
I would
Would you still act
I would
try and
dress
keep it up?
feminine. I would dress feminine because I'm a feminine person.
So the thing is, why to affirm your gender identity, you have to actually dress as the way all the other women see themselves as dressing. You're keeping up the social construct by doing that.
So here's the fun thing is that there are gender nonconforming trans people. Josie happens to be a feminine trans woman, but there are trans women who work on cars and they wear, oil stained baggy pants and they wear sports bras that don't emphasize their breasts and they have dirt under their
So they just act like
fingernails.
people. Basically, they don't really care about.
So the
how
thing
they
is that
like
trans
a person
people
now.
trans people are people, and
I
so there
am a
is
Yeah,
a
that's not what
there
that's
is
not what I meant. I mean, they just
there
act
is a
like normal.
so the thing is that that's
normal-ass
great.
people that
It's
don't
very
really think
cool
day
for
to day
you.
how they're
Oh my
dressing.
god. Okay, so here's the thing is that I don't normally do this, but I literally started responding to the first 4 words that I said and not listening to me finish my sentence. So no wonder you didn't agree with me because you didn't let me finish talking. What I'm saying is that trans people have a variation of gender expression just like cis people do. And it seems to be like relatively similar in percentages, like maybe not exact, but the percentage of cis women who prefer to dress feminine and the percentage of trans women who prefer to dress feminine, like there are similar but different pressures on them. Trans women have to perform femininity to gain social acceptance. Otherwise, like the more people reflexively look at them and can tell that they're trans, the more trouble they're going to run into in their daily lives. So there is a facet of just trying to get through the day without being harassed that trans women are emphasizing their feminine characteristics for that purpose. It is not fair to place the responsibility on them of, oh, you're reinforcing sexist stereotypes. Like, how about the majority of cis women? Are they contributing and upholding negative stereotypes about women by wearing makeup or by getting a breast augmentation? Like, or are they just trying to survive in a world that kind of expects them to wear makeup and have, beautiful bodies and stay skinny after you've had 3 kids and everything? It doesn't really feel fair. And I've unmuted you now. Thank you. I hope you weren't talking that entire time because nobody could hear you.
No, I wasn't talking the entire time, but that's the thing. I actually do think that this woman doing those things actually does reinforce those same problems. And I mean,
So
I could
what
say the same with men also.
So what is your contention then, Erika? What is your contention?
My contention is the fact that it is cared so much about how these people look, dress, and act hurts the movement more than anything else.
So
but why is it our? I just want to say.
I think we're saying the same thing.
It's the reality is trans people are not the issue here. It's about gendered standards and gendered presentation of like, like all of the Instagram models and all of them, the majority of people aren't trans. You're like trying to point at like 1% of the population. Like I did not create the
No,
social
I'm really
construction
not.
of gender.
That's literally,
I didn't
that's
create.
literally not exact. That's not what I said at
Let me
all.
finish my
Like,
point. I did not create the social construction of gender. I live in it,
yeah,
though. I live in
but
it.
by acting through it, you reinforce it.
So here's the thing, Etika.
I'm
Here's the
not.
thing. So here's the thing: is that let's just think about like a cis woman, right? A not trans woman who she has entered her feminist phase and she has decided to stop doing all of these things that society expects her to do, and she starts coming to work without makeup. And she starts
Okay.
wearing less feminine clothing. Like she's a professional, she's a working professional, but she wears slacks instead of a skirt to the office now. When
Okay.
she stops getting promotions, do you think that is like good for her? Because the problem that here is, Etika, that you're assigning responsibility to a person who is trying to navigate a system that is externally imposed on them. And you're saying, well, you're partially responsible for upholding feminine stereotypes. But when women violate those stereotypes, Etika, for real, let me finish my thought. When any woman, this is my show and I am trying to get to a point with you. I'm trying to reach a mutual understanding with you. Please let me finish. Holy fucking shit, dude.
Oh, you just
don't know what that was. Yeah, I just dropped him immediately. I was like, there is zero recovery from that. I'm not going to even try.
Yeah.
Yikes. I'm sorry. Listen, if that was an accident that you did there, if you're standing next to a fire hydrant or like a fire truck that just decided to go off right then, sorry, but that was a 0%. We're not dealing with that anymore.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. Was he laughing? Like,
no, I don't know what it was. It was just like some weird sound.
I have no idea.
I like, and I'll finish the point here too. It's like the idea that like trans women are now not only are like in society apparently not women, but we're also now responsible for deconstructing and taking away all the female stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like it's like the idea that this small portion of society is like the problem with everything. And by the way, like I can't even remember how that call started. Wasn't it about like how gender is, it's our view of gender that is completely like ruined? How, and it's like, but he did not like it very much when I started talking about, I agree, Republicans have completely skewed what gender is to mean sex.
And then he's like, well, you're both doing it.
Because it was just like, so it was clear that he had an agenda and he wanted to go down his talking point with the island analogy, which apparently he thinks that is like, oh, it's so profound of a thought, but it's just like, anyways.
By the way, lines are closed, everybody. I'm sorry if you just tried to call in. I realized that the banner wasn't updated, so I just updated it. We are no longer taking new callers because we still have a few people on the line and we only have like a maximum of an hour left of the show, ideally. Because we have our super chats to get to. Oh, and since we're winding down toward that part of the show, again, we still have several calls. We're going to try to get to everybody. If we can't get to everybody, I apologize. We've had more spice than we expected today. We do still want to like try to hit that 3-hour mark and not stay much longer beyond that. Did I just accidentally make myself bleed? Anyway, sorry. I have a scab on my lip because I've got herpes. So that's fun.
Oh, no. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
Anyway. We are getting into the super chats portion of our show very soon. If you want to have your comments read aloud, $5 or more will get you on the list, and you can use that opportunity to vote. Hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Josie. And whoever loses that competition has to defend a silly position. At some point, Arden will put a poll in the chat for you guys to vote on what the silly position is, so you get to contribute. And if you haven't yet hit the like button, please do. It still benefits the show. If you're not able to support us through a super chat, that's totally fine. Also, if you do have the ability to support us financially, check out patreon.com/calltheline. We are going to be organizing another LineCon soon, which is basically $15 a month, gets you a ticket to LineCon and all kinds of other neat stuff that we've got over there. So check that out, please, and support the show. Supporting the show directly supports trans people. Is there anybody on the list who is
Oh,
sticking
there's
out to
two.
you?
There's two. There are the last two on the list. So we can
They've both
go
been waiting a
down.
similar amount of time.
Yeah, so I will go with the one that's been waiting for 38 minutes,
Yeah,
because that kind of continues on the conversation that we were just on.
sounds perfect.
All right, so I'll take it. I'll go ahead
Mm.
and take it. Um, Hello, Vivek, from Sweden, she, they pronouns. You are live on the line with Lux and Josie. Talk to us about how you feel that gender affirming care without treatment without reaffirming regressive gender stereotypes. So yeah, tell us about it.
Okay, so I have personal experience of anatomy dysphoria, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess I am sort of comfortable identifying as transsexual. But I have encountered that people find that term to be offensive. And that sort of confuses me because sex and gender I consider to be partly different things.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience, and I have to reckon other people, because anatomy dysphoria is a thing, that's not something I invented, that it can happen for people that it's the, you know, the biological aspect of the sex that is dysphoric. So because when we have to start describing what we mean by gender, we often get into these not roles, but sort of attributes of personality that people of all sexes can have. And when you're raised, you sort of are encouraged to do different things and discouraged to do other things, depending on what sex you are recognized as. And that has been a thing for me also because I have not really experienced that I'm dysphoric about my gender presentation. I have kind of a feminine presentation, and so that's another thing here where I feel a bit like I don't want to start presenting as completely masculine, for example, to be taken seriously as a man, because for me, my thing has been the, you know, how, you know, the discomfort of anatomy dysphoria. And because I have personal experience of this, I'm not here to talk about myself, but I can sort of relate to my own experience. But I also feel like I want to be affirming to people who transition gender. But the aspect of that gets me is we talk about social transitioning. And that's where it gets tricky. Because especially for trans women, where they start to sort of take on attributes that cis women may feel are hold them back, if you get what I'm saying. Where I don't want to. Yeah.
So,
you can answer. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's literally what we just had the other conversation about. People who look at trans people and say, "Oh, you're holding me back as a woman because you like to wear lip gloss and you know you want to get big boobies or whatever," is not it's not fair to the person that is just trying to live their lives. And like the idea that there's an entire like community of bimbos, they literally call themselves bimbos, they're cis women particularly, that will exaggerate all of those things. And
Literally Dolly
so
Parton.
yeah, or Pamela Anderson or any
Yeah.
of those type of people. And like the idea that, you know, trans people are just living their truth and who they are. And I think that there has been, because there's like different waves of feminism that we've experienced in the world. And there was the case where there was the bra burning feminists that were like, we need to abandon all of these things, but there's also women that also enjoy makeup. There are women who enjoy dresses. Like, the reality is, women in particular should be able to express themselves in any way. Same with men. And the idea that we have to limit someone else's expression because of your own feelings of what's holding you back is not the problem of the person that is living those expressions. It's the problem with society forcing that on people. And so, like, I always say, kind of like, do you, like, if it makes you feel good, then do it, expression wise. Like, and maybe it's just not in my mind of the idea of like, oh my gosh, that woman's wearing so much makeup, it makes me feel bad about myself. That's a you problem, right? Like, it really has to be about, I do things because it makes me feel good. I'm not doing things because of other people's feelings.
Okay. Thank you for your input. I am in my late 20s now, and I can see how, as I have aged, I have become better at, as you say, taking your own position and sort of being an individual, I guess, is what you kind of described.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're young, that is difficult because you don't have a lot of experiences or perspectives that you can compare. And especially when children have to start to, I know my mom, from the start, she was kind of aware of gender in raising her daughter, like not reaffirming the regressive stereotypes. And my dad, he wasn't like, oh, you're a girl, you can't do these things. He was like really neutral too. And so I guess I had a pretty luxurious background in that way, but I know for many girls, they have to, consider that, am I really that person that I was shaped into? Or if they were a boy and they were kept out of things, which is often the case for boys because of gender ideas, they have to consider, like, is this really who I am and what I like to do? Or was this because of my sex? I was assigned these gender things.
Right.
And I also identify as a lesbian because
Mm-hmm.
of, how, sexual attraction is still pretty, physical, biological. So because I haven't transitioned or anything, I don't know how to explain it, but.
I mean, to be clear, lesbianism is a much broader concept than just strictly like, females in relationship with females. To be clear, like, even if you transitioned, I've known, especially historically, but even up to the present day, many trans men who have had a lesbian background still participate in the lesbian community and sometimes even identify as lesbians because it has been such a significant thing for them. And so I just want to be clear that, like, those things are much more flexible than you think they are, and that it is not necessarily like you don't have to change your identity labels in ways that feel conventional, because as queer people, these things are multifaceted and they go deeper than, and I just think it's really silly to feel pressured to be like, I am no longer allowed to identify with this community that was extremely identity forming for me. So, I just want to be clear, like, as a young person who is, kind of exploring things, I wanted to say that to you.
Thank you. Anyway, there are cis women who identify as butch lesbians and have sort of masculine attributes. And this isn't to defend any sort of transphobia or anything, but I can see why some of them feel like the trans awareness, where you are sort of recognizing these social transitions in people who take on new attributes that are connected to gender, where butch lesbians want to be seen as women, but they don't have typical feminine attributes. And
I think I understand the issue here. So at the very beginning, like earlier in the show today, I talked about the 5 different things that kind of make a human. And, there is sex assigned at birth, there's gender identity, there's gender expression, which is what you're talking about. And then you also have sexual orientation and relationship configuration, which is how many people that you love, either 0 or 1 at a time or many at a time. And so the what you're discussing right now is gender expression, and gender expression is completely, like you said, not connected to gender identity whatsoever. As the butch lesbian that you're talking about is still identifies as a woman but has a masculine presentation, that is still within the realm of how somebody identifies. I am a trans woman who identifies as a woman and was assigned male at birth, sex wise, but also has a feminine expression. Those are all 3 unique things to me. They're not all interchangeably. Like they're not all connected. So that's kind of how I look at the world, because gender expression is something completely different from gender identity. Do you understand that difference?
Yes, I think I know what you're getting at. I would
Okay.
contest that it's a universally recognized distinction.
I wanted to
It
jump
is
on
pretty
something
universal.
that you said really quick before I lose it completely. You said that it's troublesome sometimes for butch lesbians who want to be recognized as women. I assume you mean because trans men, like sometimes people think that they are trans men or something like that. Is that what you were hitting on?
Well, I think it goes back to something that has always been a thing, where women have to perform. And whether that's because you have the sex identity as a woman, the biological thing where you feel euphoric about that, or you have a gender performance that is recognized socially, where it's sort of like already as somebody who chooses to be in a relationship with someone of the same sex, you are like, the world has opinions and tries to stop you. Oftentimes you experience resistance. And then to have like, you find a way to be yourself and be comfortable in your life. And then people start to go like, well, if it's 2 women in a relationship and one has more masculine attributes, then that person is the man. Do you understand?
Well, that has nothing to do with trans people. I see why it's annoying,
outdated.
but I feel like that has nothing to do with trans people.
Yeah. That's just people being assholes.
That's the ever-present dominance of heterosexual. That's like why it's called cis heteropatriarchy. Because like the cultural dominance of heterosexuality and the need to squeeze gay relationships into that framework. Yeah, that I feel like that's like a straight people thing.
Yeah, that like you probably wouldn't hear
anyway,
that from queer people.
Right. So for me, another thing that I can personally relate to is where in, like, this is sort of private, but in a sexual context, I would be comfortable doing the penetrating, if you get what I'm saying. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end.
But
that's another thing where then, okay, that makes me more comfortable with this, like, dysphoria I have about the female body. And I don't know how to really divorce that from, because I actually came out to my parents. And in hindsight, like, the thing that triggered my coming out to them was because we were talking about how all my life I've been like wanting to collect sticks. And my mom was like, okay, if you were a boy, people would have said that this is because you're a boy, because your sister didn't do this. And then I was like, well, actually, I think I am not entirely a girl. And afterwards, I have been thinking about that, because that is like, it sort of confirms that we have a hard time divorcing what is learned about how we view the sexes and the genders and what is actually true. like in nature.
Yeah, but we don't have to appeal to nature all the time. Like we humans have had the opportunity to transcend that and do things that are socially acceptable or socially who they are. What you're describing with as well is top versus bottom. Like there are people who are tops and there are people who are bottom, especially in gay relationships in particular. It's nothing that is uncommon. This is a very common thing that happens in queer community, and the exploration of your own gender identity amongst that is just a natural behavior of who you are and trying to discover where you land in this complex thing that we look at with gender identity, gender expression, and your own sexual orientation. All of those things are all wrapped up into one, and you're getting hit with it all at once. And in when you're coming out, which it sounds like, you said you're in your late 20s now, as you're starting to understand yourself more deeply, you're starting to ask these questions. But at the end of the day, it's like, be you. Don't worry about how other people look at you or how you dress or how you present yourself or how you have sex or all of that stuff. None of that matters. It's about who you are and what you want to present as. Like, get other people out of your head when you're thinking about these things, because that's what's giving you a lot of the issues, is that you're thinking of other people rather than just understanding your own self identity and being who you are, regardless of what other people think. And I think that will help you in a lot of ways, because it doesn't matter what other people think about how you interact or who you are or it doesn't matter. It's about you. It's about what you want.
Right. I just have to, not to invalidate any of that, but previously I listened to when you talked about how we're not on an island, we're connected with other
Yes.
people in community, social creatures, all of that. I just feel like it's not really the case that
It's not.
you can block out the societal pressures. Like,
Well,
it's ever present.
it is always ever present, and that's what it's like to be queer in our global society. To be queer, to be different, to not be straight, cis, heterosexual, like is something that is always going to have societal pressure. And you still live inside of the social construct. Because when I was talking about the island example, I was talking directly about the fact that we still live in the social construct, and the social construct of femininity, the social construct of what it is to be a woman, the social construct of all the things that are wrapped around that is still something you have to interact with. When I say you need to do this for you, is about you figuring out where you land inside of society in that social construct, regardless of what other people think. Right. And so I'm not saying go to an island and be yourself. I'm saying be yourself in spite of everybody around you.
Okay. Well, can I ask a question to you too about my initial topic sentence, where because I was thinking about, I guess, like, if you want to be affirming to people who are starting to make their own discoveries, how would you describe, like, what is, because if somebody says, well, I think I am actually not cis, I think I'm identifying more with the other, or like Lux, none of the genders. I guess, what common things would be male and what common things would be female? Because
Doesn't
that
matter.
is another thing that when I see that the resistance to, among lesbians, for example, the resistance to the concept of being trans is often coming from a good place, actually. I want to say that, because it's like you shouldn't have to identify with gender at all. Like, everybody should be able to do everything, if you get what I'm saying. Where you're moving away
understand.
from the regressive role.
I understand, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. We still live in a world that gender construction exists, like that pressure that you're talking about. So when somebody is telling you that they're not cis, you just accept them for who they are. Like, you're just there to support them. There's no judgment required. And so that's
But
the
if
way you
somebody
interact.
were to ask, how do I know if I'm trans? And you know what sex they were assigned at birth.
I am literally going to write a book because of how often I have to answer this question. That's not even a joke. That's the announcement. I mean, yeah, experiment. Like, try different things is usually what I say. But it's like, it's always going to be so highly personal and so highly individual. Like, yes, like for me, what I want to do sexually is a huge indication of my gender for me. Like, that just happens to be the case for me. That, like, sometimes when I'm like, are you really trans though? Then I'm like, yeah, but people usually don't think about having a dick this much. Like sometimes maybe, but not like in a a sexual dysfunction level of thinking about it. So like I understand where you're coming from on that. But like, yeah, it's just gonna ultimately every single one of those things is gonna be so individual. And I just think we need to not concern ourselves at all with whether we are complicit somehow in sexism or upholding a gender binary that we are just trying to survive.
It's not.
And
It's
with
not.
that, sorry, I was going to say, with that, Vivica, we are getting close to the end of the show, and I want to make sure we get to the other callers that we have waiting. But we appreciate your call, and I hope that this has helped you at least get some more stuff to simmer on, to noodle over.
Yeah.
But we wish you luck, all right?
Yeah. Thank you, Vivica. All right.
Okay, no response.
Okay.
I'm just going to hang up. Okay, good.
Yeah. All right. So let's go with the spicy call at the end.
Yes. Yes. We have 3 callers waiting. We're definitely going to hit Cody first. We're going to get you in a second. I see Pip. I don't actually know if we're going to get to your thing today, Pip. I'm sorry. But Lorelai, I do want to answer your question, or at least try to dig into that a little bit. So just hold on really quick. I mean, I don't know, maybe not really quick. Well, let's see. Let's talk to Cody, who's calling from Wisconsin. He, him pronouns. Who wants to talk about how trans women are not women? Cody, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
Hello, it's going good. How about you?
Awesome. Living the dream.
Yeah. So
lay out your topic for us. Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I think I lean against the view that trans women are women.
Why?
So, well, I'd say that I have maybe 3 primary concerns. Maybe do you just want me to list them out and you could choose which one you want to talk about?
Sure.
Okay, so, well, maybe the smallest concern is just like an analogous, like somebody could try to make an analogous argument towards like race, which is another social construct, and they could say, why do they function differently? And then another one is just another reason to kind of reject maybe a trans view is based off of it leads to counterintuitive conclusions based off of how we're defining the words men and women. That'd be the second reason. And then the third dilemma that I might have is that it may seem like from a philosophical standpoint that adult human female just has like more virtues as a view as opposed to any trans inclusive analysis of what a woman is or what a man is.
Okay. So first I'm gonna go shoot it how you described it. Race and gender are completely different things, and anybody who tries to create that to make it analogous is doing that in bad faith, because those are 2 completely different social constructions based on appearance. And also the fact is, like, the idea that like most people have gender. And so the idea that you're trying to compare those 2 things when we're talking about gender exclusively and to throw race in as analogous is fallacious at best. And so that's what I'll say on that one. On your second contention, I will also say that the counterintuitive conclusions, I'm gonna hold that one, and then so So I actually want to know what you meant by counterintuitive conclusions. Actually,
That's my biggest
Sure.
curiosity
Yeah.
place as well. Yeah.
Okay. So I could give you one example, so there's going to be different counterintuitive conclusions depending on the type of view that you're using. But I guess just to see if this applies to your view, I'll give you one example. Do you believe that it's a necessary condition to have like some sort of, I'm going to say, specific mental states or like a certain aligning or just some sort of, I guess you could say, identity in order to be a woman? Do you believe that that's like a necessary condition?
I think it's like the only necessary condition.
Identity is the only one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's a necessary, and we agree that identity is a mental
It's
state,
the
right?
only one. No, I'm not gonna grant you that. No, identity is just something you are.
Okay. If it's, I guess I'm kind of lost here because presumably I thought that gender identity was like a feeling. Is it not?
No, it's not a feeling. It's just
a
what is.
state of mind, kind of. Like you could
I
say
don't
that
even
it's a
say
state of
that.
mind, but
I wouldn't even say that. It's
State of
just what
mind?
you
Well,
are.
that sounds like a mental state to me.
Me and Lux have a very.
I think the
complex-
language on this is really hard to
Yeah.
communicate because it's like, how do you communicate the experience, right? And we don't even experience it the same way necessarily.
Yeah,
So it's like hard
just
to
what
relate.
You are. It's what you are. That's what an identity is. It's what you are. There's no feeling involved. There's no anything involved. It's kind of like being gay. It just is. It just is. It's not anything like anything else. It's just
that's
Sure.
yeah. It's like you can have feelings about being gay, but like the gayness
you
is just a
are.
fact about you. Yeah. I think that's a good.
Okay,
that's
maybe I
apt.
could put it this way. Right? In order to be gay, in order to get category membership into the category of gay, you are going to have certain mental states, right? Like you have to have a certain attraction,
no.
right? And attraction
That's
is a
not
type
a
of mental
state.
state.
No, it's not.
What?
It's not a mental state. It just is. You are attracted to somebody. That's
Okay,
what
maybe
it is.
we could do it this way. Let me reword it. You cannot have an attraction absent having a mind. Is that fair?
Wait, no. I actually, yeah, you can have attraction without having a mind. Like, for example, like if you look in nature, there's a lot of like plants that are attracted to sunlight. They don't have a mind, right? So
I don't think that's an
those
attraction.
it's an attraction to sunlight. Yes, it is. It's an absolute attraction to sunlight
I
because
think
it's what
that
helps them
we
grow.
are now, we are definitely operating on a different sense of the word attraction. So I guess, because what I think was happening with plants is just a reaction. I don't think that's an attraction, right? I think that there's just like chemicals and things that work together to lead to a certain outcome, right? And I think that
I mean, to be
attraction-
fair, people do say that about human love, though. Like, to be fair, it is the same thing, just scaled up to a different level of complexity. But in general, I would agree that what we're dealing with is like neurochemistry.
But
I think at the end of the day, we're talking about neurons, we're talking about neurochemistry, we're talking about like the brain can light up when pleasure is experienced and stuff, and we can see like a gay person looking at a gay person.
We can measure it, but we still don't know what it is, right? That's what it is. Just because something is measurable doesn't mean that we know the deterministic factor of what it is.
Okay, maybe I could try to word it this way. This could give us some progress. In order to get category membership into being gay, a
just have to say you're gay.
for that, or having consciousness is a prerequisite. Do we agree with that?
Well, having consciousness is a completely different conversation, though. Like, sure, you have to be conscious. Like, if you're unconscious, if you're just unconscious and you're a vegetable, then yeah, you can't be anything. That's a very silly.
Cool. Okay.
It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, the light is on. All right, yes, you have to have a light on to make a dark room not dark. Sure.
I gotcha. We're making progress. Okay, so we need to have that like light on. We need to have the sentience. Okay, now for identity, right? Because you're saying that being a woman is an identity. I would argue that the same necessary prerequisite applies, that the light needs to be on. You need to be sentient to have this identity. Would you agree?
If you have to be a human being, yes, to be a trans person, I guess, is what you're trying to say.
No, no, no.
Yes.
Careful though, because not all human beings. Remember, like a fetus can be a human being, but it's not
A
sentient
fetus is
at
not a
some
human
point in
being.
gestation.
A fetus is not a human being, and
I don't agree.
well, I mean, that's a completely different conversation. A fetus
I
is not
know.
a human being. A fetus is a cluster of cells that grows into a human being. They're not.
Well,
That's how it works.
I guess to move on from that point as quickly as possible, I'll just say that 96% of biologists affirm that human life begins at conception, and being usually in philosophy just means exists. So it's like a human
That is not
exists.
true. Now you can't throw 96% of people say that a life begins at
The human life
conception.
begins at conception. Yes.
No, that is not true.
I have a source.
Don't make me laugh. Like, that is so silly. Like,
I
you're
have a
talking about
source.
one of the most contentious things, and if it's not like, and I think I know the source. It's like engineers and all these different type of people that say that. It's not actual people.
I don't think so.
Are involved in the
No.
sciences.
I'm saying 96. Well, I'll just cite my source real quick, and I don't want to talk about human life and what it is right now, but I'll just drop my source so people don't think I'm pulling things. Steve Jacobs, 2018. It's on the National Institute of Health, I believe. It's like, if you just like read the abstract, it says that out of the over 5,000 biologists that were surveyed from over 1,000 different academic institutions, 96% affirm that like human life begins at conception or fertilization. So
that is not a scientific claim. Life is an objective term, and you know this.
Human life. That's what it says in the article, I believe. So, yeah.
All right.
So, again, I don't want to.
I don't even know how we got here. Why are we on abortion now?
Yeah. So
sorry, I got
stick with
distracted for a second, and I
point.
came back, and we're on fetuses.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Anyways,
so my point is that in order to get category membership into having identity or having the identity of a woman or man, you need to have sentience. Do we agree that that's a necessary, prerequisite?
Yes, you have to be a live, breathing human being. Yes.
Okay, cool. So that means that on your view, if I were to ask you, do any dead women exist? What would your answer be?
Women have died. Yes. That is a thing that happens.
Oh my God, that's a different claim. Careful. I'm asking you, do dead women currently exist?
Yes, there have been women that have died. Yes, there are dead women. Yes.
I mean, it's like saying there's a dead person, right?
Yeah.
Like there's still it's like they're not a person anymore because the brain is turned off. So they're not really. It's like the Klingons where they're like, that's trash now. That body is trash because the person is gone, right?
Yeah.
So, but people will still say a dead person. So people will still say a dead woman. But I would generally agree, I guess, that the person no longer being conscious and sentient means that most meaningful things we could ascribe to their personality or personhood are no longer relevant factors. So like,
but
that's a dead body. Like,
it's a dead body, and also women die, so therefore they are dead. They were once women, and then they're not women because they're dead body.
Yeah. I think we're all mostly in agreement on this.
So the conclusion is that you don't actually believe that dead woman exists. You believe that there are women who have died, but you don't believe that dead woman exists.
I think being a woman requires, I think what you've been driving toward, and I think maybe I should have pitched in on this way earlier, but yes, it requires consciousness.
Okay, cool. So I just want to say
maybe we differ on that, and
when...
I'm okay with differing with Josie on this if we differ. Just to be clear, we have different opinions, and that's allowed.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, for me, it's like when somebody is dead, I respect who they are when they die. Like that's how it is. So if somebody...
like technically they also don't have a name anymore because it's a dead corpse. But I'm still going to be like, Jeff, man, I missed him.
Like,
we're going to Jeff's wake this weekend. And I'm still going to talk about him.
So it's like I respect who they were in life and in death. That's just how I look at it.
Okay, well, maybe I can make headway into my second point, which is that if you believe that having a certain type of consciousness is required to be a woman, let's just say that we, and this may actually already exist. I think that there's like severe cases of what's known as like, it's some sort of like semantic memory loss. I forget what it's called, but some people that are just very, very disabled to the point where they may not grasp the concept of what a female is, of what a woman is, of what genitalia is, what society is. Would these people, in your worldview, not be women because they're not able to align with a certain identity?
If they don't identify as that, then no.
Okay, well, I feel like, and me personally, I feel like that's at least in part, a counterintuitive conclusion. And the reason being is because if I were to say something like, let's just call this disability that I'm referring to, let's just call it like extreme Alzheimer's, right? Whatever. Now, if I were to say a statement like, it's possible for a woman to have severe Alzheimer's, that seems very like intuitively true. Like, oh yeah, a woman can of course get this disability, but under your worldview, they can't actually.
What are you talking about? They could have been women and had severe Alzheimer's, and therefore I respect their wishes of being a woman before the condition.
If you read the article, Cody, I want to address it. Cody, if you're reading an article that says women often have this condition because of the way that a lot of these scientific studies are done, what they mean is females. Like, and that's it. Okay. It means that in some ways the language that they're using is less accurate. If what is the actual fact is when you tested this, you tested it on cisgender females, of reproductive age or whatever, like certain criteria like that. But that, it's not necessarily saying if someone doesn't identify as a woman, they're no longer impacted by that, right? Like, just because someone no longer identifies as a woman doesn't necessarily mean that they are precluded from certain things that, women's reproductive health care broadly that might impact them still. You can't identify your way out of having those problems. So I think that's kind of I don't know if you mean to be disingenuous, but it feels like a weird comparison to make when it's clear that you can't identify out of a medical issue. And that's just a matter of like science communication.
I have pushback on that because it sounds like what you said is so just to make sure I'm repeating your stance properly, you said that in the, sorry, 1 second, I was getting a call. So in the case where I mentioned the scientific articles and you're saying, well, what they really mean there is female, they're just kind of like not being so accurate with their language. It seems like that'd be analogous to me saying what it means to be a chair is to have 4 legs. And although there is these objects with 3 legs that operate just like chairs and people call them a chair, well, they're just not really being accurate. They called it a chair, but they were kind of wrong. I have the accurate definition. How do you know that it's not the other way around? How do you know that maybe
that's not what we're saying at all.
Sounds
We're
like
not saying that at all.
Maybe
you just straw man the hell out of us. Like you just immediately went into this chair conversation and then saying, well, what if the person's wrong about being a chair? They're all chairs, Cody. They're all chairs.
Yeah,
3-legged, stumps, horses, like all of them. They're all chairs. They're all a form of chair. No one is wrong in calling any of those things a chair. A table can be a chair. 1-legged stool can be a chair. It doesn't matter. So you just straw man me to think that somebody would say that's not a chair. But you said that the scientists in the article were using the word woman inaccurately. You were like, well, they're saying woman, but what they really mean is female. That. I don't know what article you're looking at.
Somebody said that.
I don't know what article you're looking at.
Yeah, I'm not sure what. I think there was a hypothetical, like if women get Alzheimer's, does that mean that somebody who's developmentally disabled in a way that makes it impossible for them to understand the concept of a woman, does that person no longer have the risk for Alzheimer's? And it's like, clearly you can't identify your way out of certain like biological features, which is why what I'm saying is if they're talking about a proclivity to develop Alzheimer's, then being a woman isn't a relevant factor because you can be a woman and not be biologically female. So that's what I mean when I'm like, that is less precise language for them to say women get Alzheimer at this rate, when it's actually the fact that they're maybe even it being born female isn't the primary factor. Maybe the primary factor is whether you have an estrogen dominant endocrine system, which again is separate from the idea of being a woman, and it's also separate from the idea of being a female. So that's why I say it's not very precise language when we're talking about medical risks to just say women. We're missing a lot of information that is actually quite necessary there, because I want to know, does a trans woman's risk of Alzheimer's increase because she's taking estrogen? Is estrogen the thing? Or is it something else? Like, that is actually important information that would be left out and has nothing to do with whether a person identifies as a woman or understands what a woman means.
Okay. I do have pushback to that, but I know that we don't have a lot of time. So is it okay if I move on to kind of my final point?
Yes,
Potentially?
please. I want to know
so-
your point because you haven't gotten to it yet. I know you're trying to walk us down this illogical thing. I know I used to be in speech and debate. I know when you're trying to like hang us with the rope that you're trying to give us, and I'm just not buying any of the premises. But go ahead, Cody. Tell me your conclusion.
Also, do feel like that is a little bit getting away from my slam dunk of the conversation, but I will allow it.
Well, this is, by the way, I feel like I did make one of my points. One of my points, just to kind of reiterate my last point, was that intuitively, many people, even if they walk into a room full of people that had these severe mental issues where they just didn't align with anything, they only feel hunger and they feel the need to use the bathroom. Intuitively, people would still walk in and say, hey, look, there's men and women in this room. But under your view, these people wouldn't actually be men or women because they lack the identity.
Cody, I also impose this identity on my cat. You know, people impose gender on other individuals, like they project gender onto other individuals. I pick up my kitty cat and I go, what a sweet little baby girl. I love her. She's the queen. She's my princess. And that is because she doesn't understand English, and I'm not going to harm her by assigning her a gender aggressively. But yeah, people do that. And that doesn't mean that, like, you know, people might perceive me as a woman, but I'm not one. Like, it's like I happen to not be a woman. Their perception of me is not relevant, actually.
Well, okay. Well, I guess I should move on to my last one because lack of time. So I think that also part of the issue might be that I sometimes think that the definition of woman or man that's given in order to be trans inclusive sometimes is not very clear. So can you give me your definition of what a woman or man is?
Well, give me yours first.
Okay, sure. Mine's going to be adult human female and adult human male.
Okay, cool. So therefore, there's no difference between sex and gender to you.
That doesn't logically follow. They're different in the sense that one of them is just sex and the other one is sex plus age plus
extra steps. That's all it is. Your definition of woman is not the same. No, your definition of woman is sex with extra steps. My definition of woman doesn't involve sex at all.
You're still defining gender in what we call a bioessentialist way, which is that the fundamental thing that's required for participation in the category is possessing the biological sex. You can't have gender separate from biological sex, in your opinion. They are the same thing.
Yeah, so that's why when we give you our definition of gender that doesn't involve sex, you won't accept it.
No, that's not the case. And by the way, if I were to say that me and my friend went on the same route in our bicycle, and he went to Papa John's and I went to Papa John's and 7-Eleven afterwards, I would say that we didn't go on the same route. You could say, oh, well, you just went on the same route with extra steps. It's just not the same route.
Yeah, you got to the same destination. Right? You got to the same destination. Which
I
is
just
sex and gender are the same. You literally are going
route.
To the same destination.
The
same destination is that sex and gender are the same to you, Cody.
Yeah, I don't think that is perfect. I don't think that analogy works very well in this situation. It certainly is an analogy. I just don't think it really fits in this situation, because what you're still saying is that you are in, like, the most fundamental defining characteristic of gender is sex, which means that it's not possible to extricate themselves from each other. Which means that one definition is reliant on the other definition.
Yeah, you're using female, which is a sex term, and a gender term, which is also sex. You are using sex both times in your definition, and you call us circular?
Wait, you said I use sex in a gender way? No.
So when you define gender, you use sex, which is female.
I do use it.
So therefore, it is inextricable. It is needed for the existence of gender to you.
It is needed, but it's not the same. Just make sure you don't say that it's the same, because that just doesn't logically follow.
But saying,
still going to the biological essentialist point of view that you can't have gender without sex, Cody.
You're saying that they are mutually inclusive. Do you think it's fair to say that? You must have one to have the other.
My definition of my definition of gender doesn't use sex.
What was your definition of woman or man then?
So my definition of woman is a person who identifies as a woman, that is their social schema of what they believe a woman to be. So, for example, for me and my interpretation of that are the women who raised me, the women that I look up to, my peers, and the social constructed category of what woman gender is how I perceive being a woman. For me.
Well, I mean,
I would add to that, or maybe phrase it differently, just to say, I would say that like a gender is like how a person understands themselves to fit into the biosocial construct of gender.
Yeah, and it's just who I am.
Okay.
I am a woman. It has nothing to do with my sex.
Well, I guess the first problem would be that unless you're invoking something known as the use-mention distinction, this definition would seem circular because you're using the word woman in the definition, right?
Well, the thing is, you use the word female in your gender definition, so it's just as circular.
No, because my definition was, I was defining the word woman. I wasn't defining the word female. So it's not a problem for me to include female in the definition of woman. I'm not using the term.
Yeah, it is because you are inextricably linking them. Look, Cody, I'm not even going to play this word game with you. We've been doing this for years. The difference between my definition of sex is that my definition of gender and sex my gender definition does not need to have sex. Your definition needs to have sex in the word gender. So therefore, we have two different points of view. And we can play semantics all you want, but the reality is my gender is not connected to my sex. Your gender, in your opinion, is. So therefore, we're always going to be at an impasse in the conversation because you believe that one necessitates the other when I say one doesn't necessitate the other.
I would also say that the biggest,
just because of that.
Well, I do think it's a fundamental distinction that I don't think that we're going to convince you or that you're going to convince us that the person is correct. I think the main difference between our definitions, Cody, though, is that when we define women, no one gets left out of that definition. We don't have to wiggle it around. We don't have to change the definition in order to accommodate everybody. But and we've had this conversation like literally dozens of times when people come in with a definition of adult human female and we start to investigate what does that mean? Like, what do those words mean? What does female mean? We start running into problems with like, okay, well, if you're defining it by fertility, then sometimes people aren't fertile. So how do you account for those people? Well, it's actually if they were born to have that configuration.
I don't
and
even
it's like,
go
what
down
if you
that
weren't
road anymore.
Yeah,
I don't even go down that road anymore.
It's frustrating
because it's not based in the parlance of how we're having this conversation. The conversation is about, is sex and gender completely separate from each other? And the answer is yes for me, and it's no for you, Cody. So the idea that we can go down these rabbit holes is never going to reach anything because we're always going to be at an impasse. Because if you never agreed that the definition of sex and gender are different from each other without involving each other, and you believe that gender includes the sex determination of somebody's biological sex, then there's no way we can have this conversation. And maybe I'm being a little short with you because I've just been very annoyed by a lot of the calls today. But the idea that this is going to be a productive conversation just doesn't work because it's two ships passing in the night. And this argument always leads to this, that you will believe that sex and gender are inextricably linked, while I believe otherwise.
I just wanted to finish off by saying that, I think that the reason why I stick with my definition, Cody, and why I haven't been convinced to use your definition is that my definition includes everyone it means to include, and it doesn't exclude anyone that it means to exclude. Whereas your definition
I don't agree.
Seems to, because we haven't gone down the road of this conversation. Because like I was trying to say, when we do pursue this line of questioning or this line of inquiry, we find that the person who's presenting the adult human female argument has to hedge a lot of bets, or they have to say, well, that doesn't count, or that person is included, even though that person isn't actually strictly included based on how I originally defined my terms. And it's a lot of goalpost shifting. So my definition doesn't need to do any of that. My definition withstands scrutiny and doesn't need to flex around because it includes everyone I mean to include, and it excludes everyone I mean to exclude. And it seems to have the most utility in describing how people actually interact. I do think I'm going to save Josie from this conversation, so that we're gonna have to take a couple friendly calls, and then we're gonna move on to our super chats and wrap things up. We're going a little bit longer.
I'm not ready to close this out yet. Go ahead, Cody.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to briefly say, when you're saying that yours includes everybody, right? Number one, I think that I gave you a couple examples of which it doesn't. Like, if we have again, the room full of very, very disabled people, I think that intuitively I would want to include them as women. I would want to say that these are men and women who are very disabled. And you said, under your definition, I don't think they qualify as women.
I don't. So I think that it's possible. Hey, this might be a like rock your world moment, Cody. I don't have a gender, and I think that it's possible for other humans to not have a gender. And so I'm okay with just being like, that's a human person. That's a human person, and it doesn't. I don't need to project something onto them that they don't even understand.
And I'll say this statement really quick. Can someone
you want to project something onto them non-consensually that they don't even understand?
Yeah, and Cody, so can some women have does some women have penises and some women don't? Is that a logical sentence?
Yes, that is. It's logical and it's true. I would agree.
So a trans woman is a woman.
That doesn't logically follow. With the woman with penises, they would just be talking about some sort of disorder of sexual development, like an intersex condition, in which
because you believe that sex and gender are explicitly linked, so therefore we could never agree.
I'm gonna go pee.
Yeah.
Well,
do you understand what you're mean?
Well, I don't.
Because you don't believe I'm a woman because I'm a trans woman. You don't believe I'm a woman even though because I'm a trans woman. That's pure and simple, Cody. And it's based on ignorance. It's not based on science. It's not based on anything. It's based on your opinion of what a woman should be to you. But the reality is, I am a woman, because if you didn't know me from anybody else and I was in a corner with a bunch of women, you would say those women over there. Like and so exactly. So therefore, I'm a type of woman, Cody. That's what I'm trying to say.
In the same way that
trans women are a type of woman.
But if you looked at a pile of money in the corner and there was some counterfeit money in between all the money, you'd still say, "Oh, the money over there." All right.
So
it doesn't mean that all the money is
so
actually
you're
money.
saying so you believe that trans women are counterfeit women, but so the reality is you do not believe that trans women are a type of woman, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I don't believe that they're a type of woman. Nope. And
exactly.
Is it okay if I just briefly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Say it.
I just wanted to say that somebody else was saying that my definition has to make all these like goalpost moves, and they have to shift the goalpost because infertile woman. I mean, I think that I have a way to construct the definition. I think that I have a way to construct the definition.
Does your definition of woman include trans woman, Cody?
No.
And therefore, you excluded somebody, didn't you?
Well, I think that.
So therefore, you excluded it. And Cody, look, I'm usually
the same way that you exclude the disabled people, but sure.
I'm usually the patty cake, very nice person, but today I got some spice to me. The fact is, your definition excludes trans women and it actually kills people, period. Because the fact is, when you exclude trans women from women's spaces, that you actually lead to their death. That's how it works. So the idea that they should
go into whatever space they want. I don't.
Oh, really?
You
think that trans women could play sports? You think trans women should play sports with other women? So why do you not believe that trans women are a type of woman?
Well, again, I get more technical with my points. I think that if you look at certain,
technicality doesn't mean reality, though. Your technicality, you may not say that trans women don't belong in women's sports, but the people who use your definition do.
That is true, but I just want to say.
So you are being a useful idiot. Then you are being a useful idiot for the people that cause bigotry and want trans people dead, Cody. So I don't care how you are being complicit in your definition of woman that excludes trans people, that makes trans people die because they use you're just trying to be like, oh, well, I'm just trying to be technical. But in reality, the people that are using your type of definition are literally trying to kill trans people.
That is true, and I don't like that. So what is the
utility? What is the utility of using your definition instead of actually trying to be more inclusive to actually allow trans people's existence in those spaces? Just because it's like, oh, well, I believe that trans women should be in women's spaces, but the definitions that I use say no. Well, I don't care that other people use my definitions to cause harm. I'm not the one causing harm. That sounds awful.
Well, I just want to say part of the thing is I don't just base my definitions off of like whatever was going to produce the most social flourishing and social utility. That's not how I view philosophy, and this is a philosophical topic.
I mean, it's not philosophical. It's not. It's real life.
Oh, it definitely is.
People,
you're
it's
wrong.
No,
not
Cody.
philosophical. It's real life.
It 100% is.
Cody,
I mean, Judith
so
Butler
here's the
is a
thing, Cody,
philosopher. She
Cody,
talks
Cody, Cody,
about
Cody,
this.
Cody,
I mean,
Cody, 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 real quick. I agree that it has a philosophical basis, but this is like people are writing policy based on like what is effectively their worldview on this topic, and it does have real world impacts. So it is not.
That proves it's
So
philosophical.
Cody, I love you. Give me a second. It's not theoretical. So I think that when sometimes like when we say this is not a philosophical conversation, what we mean is this is not theoretical. It's not something that is just something that exists within classroom walls in discussions in ivory towers. Like this is people's real experience and their real life. So that's kind of what we mean. Like we mean like this has tangible material consequences for people, and it's kind of frustrating that people don't seem to see the connection between their silly little word games and those silly little word games being put into law in ways that are currently harming trans people.
Sure, and I agree with what you're saying there. You're saying that it's not like armchair philosophy. It's not just a philosophy that you sit down and cheer and go, oh, I wonder how the universe began. But I do want to say it's philosophical in the sense that when it's being put into law, I mean, I would argue that law is a subcategory of ethics, and ethics is fundamentally a branch of philosophy. So
the tricky thing is, Cody, that you have this entire conversation been making the philosophical arguments that is the foundation for the laws that you say you disagree with, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, because the adult human female argument comes straight out of the freaking book of transphobia, of the people who are literally trying to call into the show and troll us to say that we do not deserve human rights.
And that's their reasoning explicitly is what you said.
They say adult human female, and they've written documentaries on it. They've tried to make it into a butt of a joke. They've tried to do everything to make sure that we don't get to exist because of the simple 3-word definition of adult human female. Because it's more nuanced than that.
I don't like those people. I argue against those people all the time.
But the thing is, humanity is much more beautiful and descriptive than trying to put all of womanhood into a 3-word definition. You should give women and humanity more of a definition of the lived experience of what it is to be in that gendered category, because it is a category. It is a gendered category. That's why trans women are a type of woman.
So I agree. Well, I don't agree with the last thing that you said, but I do agree that it does seem counterintuitive to not include experiences at all in the definition of woman, and to reduce it so simply. But I did give my contentions. I voiced out, my opinions. I think that we can kind of wrap it up there. I know that you guys said you wanted to finish soon. So
sorry, you caught me in a really strange mood. Like I'm usually much more kind and I'm usually much more sweet, but for some reason, Cody, you caught the spicy end of this spice rack. Because it's just I guess you just caught me on a bad day. But I will say for you to please think about it. That the arguments that you're trying to make, and I'm going to take you at your word that you actually care about the rights and dignity of trans people. Just know that the people who are the most hateful, heinous human beings on the planet that would want trans people eradicated from public life, their words, not mine, are using your words. And you got to take
that is true. That's bad. Yeah.
You got to take a deep look at yourself in the mirror and figure out why.
Sure.
So I appreciate you.
Thanks, Cody. We appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day.
Alrighty. Yeah. Have a good day, guys. All right.
Thanks, Cody. Bye.
Oh my God. Okay. Pip, it's not happening today. I'm so sorry. We're gonna take our last call from Lorelai because I think that I might have some specific advice for this. At least I hope so. So we're going to talk to Lorelai, who has she, her pronouns, and is calling from Florida. Lorelai, your question is about your hormones are not working. And let me just confirm, Arden said that you are doing injections, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Do you use nicotine in any capacity?
No, I switched to zero nicotine vapes like 4 years ago, and nothing's helped.
Okay. Are you consistently showing the blood levels that's appropriate?
According to my doctors, but they don't really seem to care because the testosterone has gradually increased again, and the estrogen has gone down, and they keep saying I'm well within reasonable range.
Yeah, but if you're not getting the effects, then they should be willing to increase it. So if that's the issue that you're running into, it would not be the first time I've heard that a doctor has pretty much like fucked around with a trans person by keeping them on an unreasonably low dose of the medicine for an extended period of time. So I would recommend looking into getting a second opinion. Or I also know somebody who recently got an orchidectomy because even after many, many years, she was not seeing the impacts that she was hoping to see. So that ended up resolving her issue. So I don't know if maybe that's another avenue to look down.
I did try to get an orchiectomy, got denied 3 times, and tried to see if I could just go for the full thing, and got denied for that an additional 3 times.
You're in
And
Florida,
this
right?
would be my 4th endocrinologist I've gone to.
And are you're in
this
Florida?
This one is with folks.
Could you also maybe even think about going out of state for your care?
I don't have the ability to do that.
I see. I see. That's tough. That's really, really tough. Have you went to nurse practitioners? Have you tried them?
They changed the law in Florida, Josie. You're not
did they?
allowed.
Yeah.
Their
Oh,
nurse
God, that's
practitioners
right.
can't fucking give it anymore. It has to be a doctor.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why you can't do Planned Parenthood anymore because Planned Parenthood is staffed mostly by nurse practitioners. I mean, I guess there's usually a doctor working there, but you have to have, I think they changed it to where you have to have an appointment with the doctor directly. So there's just a huge backlog now in Florida. And you said your current doctor is through Folks? That's like one of the ones that people recommend as a remote option, right?
Yeah.
How long have
troublesome.
you been on? How long you been on care?
I started HRT, and I've been consistent with it since March of 2019.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I would have you reached out to any of the LGBTQ community centers in your area yet?
I don't have any in my area that I know of.
Is there any
I've tried
that are
finding
close
them, but
drive?
the nearest one is like Tampa, and I can't go that far.
Tampa is the place you got to go, though. I know people in Tampa. So
it's like 2.5 hours for me at least, and I can't be outside for that
I would
long.
call in. I would call in, call them, and see if there's anything they can do to help you find a better confirming care doctor. Unfortunately, there's not much more we can say.
Yeah. And so it's like if you're within acceptable range, if you're in the lower end of the acceptable range, could you not be like, okay, well, so I could tolerate a slightly higher dose and still be within acceptable range, right? Because the thing that they should be prioritizing is, are you happy with the medicine and the impacts that it's having on you? Like that should at least be somewhat of a factor. So even if you're in acceptable range, if it's low end, you might be like, well, that's not enough for me. That seems wild. Even that. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
My doctors have me between 150 and 200, and it's not doing anything for my estrogen level.
Are you on monotherapy? Estrogen monotherapy, or are you on Spiro?
I was on Spiro for 5 of however long, and early last year they took me off of Spiro.
Why?
And since then, my testosterone has gradually increased.
I think you should lodge I think you need to lodge a complaint because this is Folks. If this is FOLX, the one that I'm thinking of, they are supposed to be a trans affirming resource. And if they just yoinked you off of Spiro and you're having negative health impacts as a result, maybe try Plume. But I would still recommend formally lodging a complaint and saying my care is being mismanaged. They took me off the medicine that was reducing my testosterone level, and now my testosterone level is up and it's causing me XYZ issues. Document the issues, by the way, like if it's impacting your sleep or if it's impacting, your quality of life in some way. You're getting hot flashes. You can't sleep at night. That kind of thing. Like, I would say start collecting documentation to make a formal complaint. But in the meantime, I would agree with Josie to check out Plume, Plume, if you haven't tried them.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Lori. I wish we could have more support on you on this one.
And I'm so sorry they're yanking you around. That's fucked up. Like, I'm mad.
I'm so sorry.
I'm mad
so
for
sorry.
you right now.
Yeah, I had that issue happen to me once, and I got shifted the patches, and it helped.
Mhm.
That was from oral to patches.
They had me on estradiol tablets for like 4 or 5
tablets.
years. Then they
Oh,
switched
Highly
that's what the
ineffective.
issue
patches.
is. That's the issue. That's what it is, because I was on tablets for 7 months and they stopped working. Then I switched over to the patches, and you should be good. Get back on Spiro if you can. I'm not a doctor though, so please confirm this.
Under
But
medical guidance, etc.
under medical guidance, do that.
Right.
And then I think give your time. It's like give yourself a good 18 months with good levels.
Yeah.
And then with that you have to just make sure you check every 3 months to make sure your levels are still on point, and give yourself 18 full months, because sometimes those changes don't happen fast.
Right.
I was 34 when I started my transition, by the way. So you still have plenty of time.
So if you were on a dose that wasn't right, or the tablets stopped working, because I know the tablets get filtered through the liver and it's less effective. So if you're only very recently working on injections, I would say,
It's been a couple years at least with the injections. I was only on patches for a couple months because they kept falling off.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But those are those crappy foam patches. You got to get the good ones, the ones that are like teeny.
No, they were like the plastic looking adhesive ones, and they just kept falling off.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Damn.
Okay.
Well, we've given you a lot to chew on here, Lorelai. So investigate those resources, and I hope for the best for you, girl. That's crazy. I'm so sorry.
Reach out to the Tampa LGBTQ Center. They may be able to at least give you some resources, or maybe carpool you.
Maybe they know like better doctors. Like if somebody there has a good provider who's taking patients, then for sure, networking is important for that.
Yeah. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, girl.
Bless, Lorelai. Later.
Bye.
Okay, that's the end of the calls portion of the show.
I hope I wasn't too just I don't know.
You were spicy today.
I was spicy today. Oh well, I think the chat likes it. So as long as
of course
the chat
they
likes
do,
it.
I feel like you took like a couple weeks off, and you lost your election, so you had to take it out on the callers today. And I hope that was cathartic for you.
Yes. Oh, by the way, the banner is covering up the super chats.
Gonna have to turn the banner off. The way that Jimmy has this set up, Arden, is that he has like just his number one input has the banner on it. And I know. I'm explaining the way that Jimmy does it, which is stupid. I'm saying that Jimmy does it in a way that I hate.
You're explaining again.
I know. His number one input just has the banner in it, and then his number two input has the super chat embedded in it, and I hate it. I have them still as independent overlays to toggle on and off. But he said he was like, you're gonna have to get used to the way that I do it, and I was like,
Yeah, anyway. All of my ways none of it is organized right now. I'm just trying to be functional with the new system at this point in time, but I'm going to probably go rebuild all of my files from scratch so that they are more organized and compliant.
Yeah. I deleted a bunch of inputs. I was like, I don't need any of this anymore. Just get it out of there. Just clean it up. Anyway, thank you so much for everybody joining us today. We are now in the super chats portion. Don't go though, because we still have some fun stuff right at the end. During this portion, we will read the $5 or more super chats. And as you can see in this one, we have a hashtag Team Josie. That's the critical element. It's the hashtag is the critical part. You can't, no hashtag, no vote, hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Josie. Whoever loses has to defend a silly position. I don't know if Arden has that. Yes. Okay. So either we're going to have to argue that transphobes have stinky diapies, or the friggin' frogs could be gayer, or garlic gender roles are better than gender roles. So get your votes in the poll there. We appreciate it. And yeah, we'll have to defend whichever silly position. I have to vote on this to know what the answer is. Let's go. Let's click this one. Okay, so it looks like the frogs is winning right now by quite a margin.
Of course.
But we still got time, and get those votes in.
Who doesn't want gayer frogs? Like, honestly.
Exactly. Thank you for the $5 from Mira Featherbender, who says, #Team Josie shoulda won. Dang it. Hi, Josie. Hi, Lux. I love you. That's an extremely close race. Get him next time. You're the best. Yeah.
Aww,
yeah.
Thank you. So close. So close.
Oh, right. Before we get any further, I'm just going to do something that I should have done earlier, which is to tell you what shows we have coming up. I'm just going to knock that out real fast because I just remembered that I'm supposed to do it. Okay, so many times I have to click the mouse, Jimmy. Make this more efficient. We do have a Devangelicals episode on Saturday with Sarah and Justin Deconstruction Zone, so that's going to be very exciting. Sunday, back-to-back programming with The Sunday Show, Matt Dillahunty, and Promise with Calling It Now and Jimmy and Javon. And then on the After Dark show, Justin Deconstruction Zone and Forrest Valkai. We have your 8-hour marathon extravaganza Skeptalk with Forrest and Erica on Monday. And Chewed Gum on Tuesday with Alyssa and Taylor. And then I don't know who Matt's guest is next week, but there's every day, every channel between this show and the Line has a podcast and Jimmy Snow and the Line. Click subscribe, check your notification settings, click ring the bell thing, do all the stuff to keep up with the shit that's going to be happening. So yeah, next super chat, please.
All right, so, for $5 from Greg Lawless. Josie, sorry you didn't win. You could get it next time for something to cheer you up. I'll vote #Team Lux so you can have a fun defending the silly. Oh, thank you. Another vote lost.
Make sure I get that vote. I'm gonna lose my mind. No, I was talking to Arden in the background, so now she's responding and didn't update the vote. That's okay. Joshua Everett with the $10 dono. Thank you so very much. Says, I hate to say it, but we may be on the verge of considering a national divorce in order to ensure human rights and not be part of an evil nation. Josie can be president of West America Compact. #Team Josie. I know, but we're gonna be leaving behind so many people in the red states that I don't feel like I can. I was able to move to a blue state, and I would feel really bad about being like, fuck you guys. Just pulling up the ladder now.
We'll send in missions of humanitarian missions to like retrieve and take in refugees. That's what we'll do. Yeah.
You better give me my vote, Arden. I know you were responding to me in the chat, but I got a vote on the last super chat.
See, this is why I would be a good president of the West Compact, because I'm already talking about the humanitarian missions that are going to go in and evac and
That's true.
Take the refugees out of Florida and all these places. We have Gertrude, $10. Thank you so much. I'm a union chairperson in Denver, and I want to run for local public office next election. DSA, hell yeah. What did you learn from your run that you hadn't anticipated in starting your campaign? #Team Josie. That's a pretty good question. It's great that you're a local union chairperson, because then you can get like a good, nice endorsement block like this, which is super nice. But just make sure that things that I would have learned, wish I knew beforehand, is like the relationships that certain organizations like the DSA has with the county, even though I will always get the DSA endorsement and I carry DSA very proudly and I will do that. But making sure that they understand that their process can be incredibly hurtful if they don't do it right. So I've already had conversations with the DSA here to not be so explicitly like throw out the questionnaire of the candidates into the public so fast, because a whisper campaign of calling me anti-Semitic and pretty blatant media of calling me anti-Semitic, and it does hurt a little. So just trying to make sure you have a good relationship with that DSA chapter to make sure that they're looking out for your best interest and not just the interest of their own values as well, because it's incredibly dangerous for me. There are radicalized people who think I want to kill Jewish people and will do anything that they can to stop it, and it's incredibly dangerous for me as a human being, because there's a radicalization that is happening toward leaders that are openly critical, and so just keep safe. keep fighting. And I probably could answer it better if it wasn't so close to the end of the show.
Yeah. Thank you, Arb Squid, for the $6, who says, after 4 years of knowing, I finally started HRT 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Thanks for the show. You folks are awesome. Congratulations. I'm glad for you.
That's amazing. Oh, and also to the person that's running in Denver, apply for endorsement at Advocates for Trans Equality, and you can actually have a meeting with me, and we can discuss it more aggressively. Stella is alive, $10. Seems the Supreme Court ruling discrimination rooted in biology is totally fine. So how long until cis women, more emotional, just don't have the judgment or rational vote? It's biology. Yeah, I mean it's all a slope that keeps on slipping.
Yeah. Thank you, Gertrude, for the $5, who says, Riverboat Jack reviewed a clip of AOC letting a beaming grin past filter when asked if she'd be running for prez in 2028. No confirmation or denial. Thoughts? Good luck to anybody who tries.
If she does, I mean, it's one of those things that you got to be careful about. I mean, Joe Biden did run 3 times, so I guess it doesn't matter, but he's also a cis white man that can run 1,000,000 times and nothing can happen.
May the odds be ever in her favor.
Yeah, I'd rather her take out Chuck Schumer personally. I think that would be a better direction. But again, this is a dumpster fire in America, so somebody's got to put it out.
Yeah.
Fragged Locus, $10 Canadian. Thank you. I've been doing gender figuring how I feel about stuff and kind of stuck in the same boat as Arden. Lack of feelings, never able to call live, but it covers a bunch of what I'm working through. Hashtag Teams Lux. Yeah.
Yeah. I am seriously outlining a book.
Yeah.
Thank you for Reality Successors, $10. In driver's ed, one kid drove to a mall parking lot and the instructor had him do a slalom around the planters. I don't know what the fuck that means. When I switched, she told me to do the same, but in reverse. That was my first time driving a car. Oh
God.
Yeah, reversing was kind of hard for me for a while.
Have you seen Ice Age? Where Sid at the end, he's like, it's where you go like side to side around something.
I'm too old.
I have seen it, but it has been so long.
Slalom, baby, slalom.
Okay.
I'm too
I'll
old.
Take your word for it, and big ups to my man John Leguizamo. I don't know whose turn it is.
$10 from Joshua Everett. Many Western societies through history didn't gender babies at birth. There was no differentiated children clothing until they made it to an age that was likely to survive until adulthood. Hashtag Team Josie. Yep. Did that in America too. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Legally Mod, for the $10, who says, what do we do with people who aren't necessarily hostile towards trans people, but are too stupid to be effective allies and their egos flare up whenever we try to teach or correct them? Call in as much as possible. Like, don't do it publicly. I don't know. I don't have a lot else to add there.
Yeah. $20, thank you, from Beaker Squeakers. The definition of men and women never changed. Cis people have always used them separate from sex. When I was told to be a man as a kid, I wasn't being told to grow a penis and XY chromosomes. Hashtag Team Baby. Aw, yes. I agree.
I will find the baby. Here, oh no, there she is. Hi, baby. You're so dumb.
Aww.
Picked exactly the wrong moment to come into my eyesight. Hello, baby. Yes. If everybody doesn't know, this is Mina. She's the sweetest. Thank you for the $5 from William, who says, hey, Josie, you should add aesthetic attraction as well. I'm an assigned male at birth, trans, NB, aro, ace, androphile, weird ass person. I don't know if aesthetic, I guess, yeah, I don't know.
Somebody who likes
that feels really
with,
niche
long
to put
arms.
on like a typical, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like that's going to only apply to like 5 people.
Yeah, I know. It's not too much.
Yeah. You can't go anywhere until I give you a kiss, or you give me a kiss. That's the rule, and you know it.
Robin Webster for $5 for the wonderful hosts who are willing to speak to these vile people. Hashtag Team Josie. Aw, thank you.
Mm-hmm. My call-in topic, thank you, Alice, for the $10, says, was the interplay of us trans people in military duty, especially when engaging in leftist spaces, my hat in the ring for the end debate, Dems have cis derangement syndrome, hashtag Team Lux. Yeah, it is a tricky intersection for trans service members.
As a trans veteran myself, that's always a fun conversation as the president of the Transgender American Veteran Association. Great. So the Eagle fan, $5. Why do you fucking care, Jacob? Respect someone's identity and it causes no harm to you. Yet the idiots try to bring up slavery to compare. I know. It's just frustrating.
SJL, thank you for the $5. Is there a non-gendered honorific, something to take the place of sir or ma'am for non-binaries? Hashtag Lux. I see people have fun with this, where it's like captain or doctor or your honor or your majesty. I don't know. There's none that are kind of like not jokey, I don't think. I mean, you could always take the Star Trek view, which is that sir is gender neutral and you just use sir for everybody. But even then, sometimes you got people like Captain Janeway who are like, I don't like it. Don't call me sir. Beaker Squeakers. Oh, I don't remember I don't remember.
Yeah. $5 for Beaker Squeakers. Supporting trans people isn't the political winner you think it is. Ikataka. Oh my God, I can't speak anymore.
I think it's just Etika.
Etika, there it is. Thank you. Just look at how many left politicians are throwing us under the bus. Yeah. It's not a political winner. It is, though. It is a political winner. What am I saying?
Yeah, it's talking shit about trans people seems to be the losing strategy politically right now. Like we've seen it over and over with Republicans and Democrats, whether it's Democratic primaries and the more progressive pro-trans candidate wins, or Republican candidates that spend a lot of money attacking us in campaign ads are just like not doing very well.
Absolutely.
I think we skipped one. I think we hit it at the same time. The button.
Oh, oops.
You can do it if you want. I don't care.
Listen, if I do it, then you can just focus on the scoreboard, and then you don't have to switch back and forth between tasks. Is this the one that we missed? Because it's the only right answer for being alone forever on the beach. No clothes required. Hashtag Team Lux. Thank you, C. Gray, for the $5 dono. Yeah.
You're gonna burn.
I mean, obviously, I within reason for sunlight reasons, but
I mean, layers are the way to protect yourself from the heat, everybody. Like, we need to understand. It's like linen.
Naked at nighttime. Naked also during the daytime, but under the trees, probably.
If it's too hot and you're not layered, you're going to burn. You're going to get all cooked. You got to put on the layers.
There's got to be a cave on the island. I'm going to go live in a cave on the island.
Yeah.
Okay, we got this one now.
Legally Mod, $5. My girlfriend just got out of bottom surgery. I'm happy for her. She doesn't want visitors until tomorrow. I'll leave work early if I can do so. Aw.
Shout out to your girlfriend.
Yeah, that's super great.
Thank you, Margaret, for the $10, who just says, love you both. Thank you.
Aw.
And I love you, random citizen.
Yeah. Joshua Everett, $5. Lux, we do not speak ill of Saint Dolly. Hashtag Team Josie. What are you doing?
Listen, I did call her a bimbo, but she herself, she was like, I saw a woman that I thought she was real pretty and I wanted to be like her. And I asked my mom what the deal was, and she called her white trash. And so Dolly Parton herself said, I want to grow up to be white trash, because I want to be like that woman with the big titties and the pink high heels and the big blonde hair. And then she did. So I think calling Dolly Parton a bimbo is like a congratulations, because she succeeded at the thing she was deliberately attempting to do. That's just me, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anonymous, for the $10, who says, some people, cis and trans, just like being femme. True. Also, a lot of trans women missed out on the girly princess phase of growing up, and I wouldn't fault any trans women making up for lost time. Hashtag Team Josie. So true.
Yeah, that's true. I knew an 81-year-old trans woman that came out like at 80, and she was very in her princess stage all the way up until she died a few years later. Yeah.
Good for her.
So I know. I loved her. How Jade Forsaken, $5. How is Nomi taking talking about nulls, but both calling for eradication of transgenderism, saying the witch trials just weren't organized enough at 20? Oh my God, really?
I
No
didn't
one was
pay any
talking
attention
about
to that
that?
event.
Wow.
Nobody showed
Yeah.
up and nobody cared. I think it's very funny that
No.
Knowles talked at that event, if that's the case, though. That's so
Oh my
funny. What a
God.
fucking loser.
He's such a loser.
Thank you, Legally Mod, for the $5, who says, "For the love of all humanity, that didn't vote for Trump, can we please stop teaching quack philosophy to young mediocre white men?"
No
True.
kidding.
They're very
Jesus.
annoying about it.
Yeah. Oh God. Carpy Venom, $10. I think Cody's study was where 60,000-ish
Mhm.
biologists were offered a chance to participate, and 6,000-ish did, was 95% of the subset of biologists who designed to participate in the politically motivated survey. I thought that's what it was. I just didn't want to get into that conversation. But yes, I do remember this. That study is so bullshit. That's why I laughed. I was like, I know this, and it's been debunked 1.5 million times. Like, it's like, you
Yeah.
can't, like, yeah, that's exactly what it was. It's just like, wow.
Mhm.
God, that fucking call. Anyways.
Thank you, AJ, for the $5, who says, "This is payback for making me door knock in the rain. I'll do it again." Hashtag Team
Yeah.
Lux. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know exactly who you were. Now I know your tag. All right.
Mm.
Anyways, Dusk Frame, 7331, 5 Australian. Yeah, I'm transitioning these beers from the fridge to my mouth.
Fair enough.
Fair. You do you,
Thank
King.
you. Yeah, thank you, Hedonista, for the $10, who says, "This is for the deft way you both handled Cody. Pretty sure it couldn't be me. Thanks for all you do."
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We do our
Thank you.
best.
Thank you. Apparently, I needed to be spicier.
Yeah, you got to turn up the heat sometimes. Yeah.
Especially like when I'm in the mood for it, I just got to be harder. I
Hmm.
just got to go harder. And hashtag Team Lux.
Yeah, thank you, Squirrel Knitter. And then we have Erica Vixen with the $5, who says, "I use folks. I set my own dosages and consistently push their set high side of E2. Yeah, like I said, I'm really shocked that that level of mismanagement is happening, and I think that a formal complaint is necessary."
Yep. Love the show, especially Team Josie Spice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie Be Quick with the $5 says, "Hashtag Team Josie for president because I'll definitely need an evac."
Aw. Yes.
That's very funny. I do
I'll
love
get
that,
you that
like,
evac.
if you ran for president, you could do the, like, "I'm a veteran, I served this country." Like, I just think it's very
Yeah.
funny. You could hit a lot of those
I
traditionally
could.
conservative notes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I literally almost won in a centrist part of Maryland, like a very centrist part of Maryland. This isn't Baltimore we're talking about here. This is like Bethesda and Silver Spring and like, like it's like, yeah, Rockville and Gaithersburg. It's like, wow. All right.
You're
Almost
cooking.
won.
You're cooking.
I
Just need to
know.
simmer a little longer.
I know. Just gotta let me cook
Yeah.
longer.
Thank you, Dusk
Slow
Frame,
cook.
for the Australian $5, who says, "I'm trans and still closeted, but I recently started dating a girl who's super supportive and super hot, and it's been awesome. Hashtag Team
Aw.
Josie. Congratulations."
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
Crazy how Ithaca thought feminism is when women wear pants and forgot about the whole respect everyone, not telling women what to do in their part. Hashtag Team Josie. It's true. It's true.
Thank you, Quantum Chaos, for the 5 Canadian, who says, "I had written a funny super chat, but my YouTube crashed and I lost it. So just pretend this was a really funny, profound, and deep super chat. Hashtag Team Arden."
Yeah,
Indeed.
hashtag Team Arden.
Who is back and doing well. So everybody knows.
Doing aggravatingly well. And I'm super jealous, but I love that she's happy and is doing so well.
This one's for you, I think.
Let's hold up hope. Let's hold out hope for Joanne Whaley, Michigan State Representative. Get out there and get your vote on, people. Hashtag Team Josie for president. Aw, thank you for the generous $20. Green man Dave.
Thank you, Faux Rainer, for the $5. Says, "Found out where Josie was running when my brother said he voted for you. Thanks for all you do. Hashtag Team Josie." That's awesome.
I know. So fucking close.
Yeah.
Etika is out here weaponizing etiquette. Thank you, Gertrude, for the $5.
Allison Dr. Pepper for the 5 says, Jacob is personally responsible for the 5 new gray hairs from this call. I will be sending him an Ulta bill. Hashtag Team Lux wishing Arden a nice recovery. Indeed.
Yeah. Brutes Magnus, $10. Speaking of winning over centrists, I mentioned this a lot, but left-wing positions are easily sell if you speak in common sense, real-life terms. Absolutely. Absolutely. We can
Totally.
knocking down those votes.
Well, it's a sad day in the neighborhood, but it makes sense why you won. It makes sense. People were, they have the pity votes. I get it.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is? Yeah. Turn up the spice today.
Yeah, that's true too. I get, and in some way, yeah, you earned it for sure with the spiciness. I was much too tired for all that apparently today. And I don't even have to do calling it now next, so that's great. But now I'm a loser and I have to defend this position. The friggin' frogs could be gayer. Okay, listen. First of all, frogs are very non-binary coded. Okay, I just have to say that. I don't know what it is about us, but we really do enjoy like single syllable named weird little guys. So frogs, in that way, that's like exponential gayness right there, just immediately. And furthermore, like they're still reproducing, which means that they could be gayer. We could have more of, that random gender changing happening, but happening in a direction where they're all homosexual now and there is no reproduction happening. That would definitely make things gayer in that way. And then, what if we gave all of the frogs makeup? What if we painted all the frogs' fingernails? And then that would exponentially increase their gayness. We need to make each frog an individual little glam wig, like the kind of glam wig that is like the reason why the sign language term for drag queen is this, or even this. Like that's the word for drag queen because it's how big their hair is. So each frog gets a little tiny wig and a little tiny kiss on their head. And then you send them out to be a little gay word that I can't say on stream. So that's a way in which frogs could be gayer. Additionally, they don't have external genitalia, and we could work on that. We could work on giving them external genitalia so that they could be gayer, because I feel like right now it's just a bunch of like butt to butt action, which to be fair is my favorite position. But, I do think that things could be gayer in that capacity. So we've got a little bit of work to do in the fashion department. We've got a little bit of work to do in the genetic modification department. And somebody get an Ulta representative out to the Amazon rainforest. Stat! The friggin' frogs could be gayer. Thank you.
They could be gayer. Thank you. That was
good. Well, that's the show. I'm posting clips again on my channel if you want to check it out. Josie, are you doing anything that people... Zerbalink. Zerbalink, you're still taking donations.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I am still taking donations.
Josie's still taking donations.
I am.
Support us on patreon.com/calltheline. Peep the chat to see the link. Support us and thank you very much.
In fact, I might actually start my own debate channel.
Yeah.
On my own.
I will not